everybody, and welcome to episode 50 of Games My Mom Found. I am Mike Albertin, and who are the chosen ones with me tonight?
Yeah, Stefan JD.
He stole mine. Hero of Time, Stuart Hughes.
Hey, it's me, Jeff Cork. I don't have any fun nicknames. I would like to apologize.
That's all right.
We never
It's always
planned
right
them.
off. No,
It's off the cuff.
on purpose.
Sometimes Stefan decides to do it, sometimes he doesn't, and whenever he does, it's always like immediate fear of like, oh shit, I hope I think of something. The one thing that's never gotten easier.
Yeah. Well, episode 50, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
We finally hit it.
And that's
Oh,
like,
and Jeff,
you didn't skip any numbers along the way to kind of, put your thumb on the scale a little bit.
we have more than 50 episodes at the time. This is just the regular episodes have numbers, and the comic and movie episodes and other random bonus crap don't have numbers.
So if anything, we're lifting up the scale.
All right.
Yeah, there's over 60 published.
Yeah, it just happened to be like 3 milestones all at the same time where we have 50 episodes. We're almost at a year, and we just hit 10,000 downloads.
Oh, wow.
Week. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And now we have you on, so it was just like a perfect storm of like, oh, great, this is going to be a great week.
Oh, boy, pressure's on. So
Yeah.
watch me blow it.
Oh, that'd be great. That'd be so great.
Thanks for
Oh,
coming
come on,
on, Jeff.
Yeah, of course.
Just start saying like,
do you want to
really
say where
controversial things, just like end your career, and that way that'll be like, that's like how our podcast gets known.
Yeah, oh, perfect. Yeah, let me
Let's not
tell
do
you
that.
all about these hot takes I have about things that you shouldn't have hot takes about. So, ugh.
Jeff, do you want to say where people might know you from?
People might know me from, I work at Game Informer, so I've been there for 13 years and been on a bunch of replays and super replays and our podcast and all that stuff. So that's probably where people know me from, if they know me.
Oh.
I think that's
know
where
you
all
from.
of us know you from.
All right.
All right, and I think I should introduce the lovely game we were playing since this was my pick, and this is actually a game my mom did find many, many years ago. We are talking about Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past.
Yeah.
It's a weird like turnabout with this game too. I've noticed a little roundabout thing because during this week I ended up watching Game Informer's Super Replay of Link to the Past, which was the first Super Replay, which is how all of us start like found out about each other and kind of how like this podcast ended up starting.
Yeah,
It's a very strange turn of events.
Yeah.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, because we're all from the Overblood group on Facebook.
Yeah.
that's how we met. I put an ad out, hey, who wants to start a podcast with me? And then these are the suckers that said yes.
Yeah.
These are the first suckers that said yes. I need to rephrase that. I was the first 3 people that said yes.
Yeah.
That was my mindset.
Yep.
Funny
And they've
is I
been
did,
consistent suckers since then.
Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect.
Wait for Mike to be like unavailable one week and one of us has to be head sucker. Oh, that's a terrible
no.
nickname. Oh God. Oh, don't ever say that.
So what's everyone's personal history with Link to the Past?
I I played it because I'm the youngest here. I was actually born after the game came out.
Okay.
So the first Zelda I played was Ocarina of Time at a friend's house. It's like, everyone had that friend with the N64. You either had the friend or you were the friend who had the N64, and that was the house you went to.
Yes.
So I would go to the friend's house and play Ocarina of Time, and then I got my own console and got Wind Waker for GameCube, and I got the collector's edition disc with it with like Legend of Zelda. I think it was Legend of Zelda 1 and 2, Link to the Past, and Ocarina of Time Majora's Mask, I want to say.
Yeah.
That disc is one of the best things that has ever been put on a disc.
Yeah. I ended up at some point selling my GameCube, and I kept 2 games. I kept Wind Waker and that collector's disc because I was like, this is going to be so valuable someday when nobody has it and it has the original Zeldas on it, or just I can't get rid of it even then because it's got so many great games packed onto this little cartridge.
Yeah, absolutely. So Ocarina of Time was your first one. What did you think going to like a sprite-based Zelda game then? Was that a weird transition for you?
Well, it was weird because when I played the disc, I was like, I'm going to play these in order. And so I played the first Zelda game. I was like, this one's a little clunky. And then jumping into Link to the Past, I was like, it's so easy to jump into. It's so it's such a well-made game that I was like, I had no trouble with it whatsoever.
Yeah.
I always thought I was going to have issues. Whenever I went back to play old games, I always thought I was going to have so many issues, but some stuff is just built so well that it really doesn't. There's really no opposition there. Like this game, I'd say like Super Metroid. There's a couple others that just you can just jump into at any point. And they still hold up.
Yeah, for sure.
This game is still amazing after all these years, and this is not my first Zelda game. I remember playing the first Zelda when I was like 2 or 3, but I don't remember much. But this is the first game that really one of the games that really grabbed me as a kid. Still grabs me. Still amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, my history with this game is this is my first time playing it. So
Is it really?
Wow,
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So I'm gonna have nice things and not nice things to say about this.
Yeah. Yeah, this is
How about you, Jeff?
I got it when it first came out because I am old, and that and Street Fighter 2 are like solely, well, I guess they share the sole responsibility for me we'll call it taking a hiatus from my first year of college, because all I did was play Link to the Past and Street Fighter 2, which was in our on campus arcade. And yeah, I absolutely loved this game at the time, and it's one of those that I would always try to go back to it. And I find that like a lot of the Zelda games, I think Wind Waker is one of them too, where like I find that so many Zelda games are so great, but that opening hour, if you have done it before, is such a slog. And I find that like just going through the castle at the beginning of this game, I don't want to skip too far ahead of this or anything, but like once you get past it, it opens up and it's a lot more fun. But I feel like every time I've tried to get back into Link to the Past, I haven't made it past the range sound effect stopping. I'm just like, oh God. But yeah, great game. And I will have some nice things to say about it after like having completed it for the first time since I think it came out. And I will have some not nice things about it to say as well.
All right. I'm not the only one.
Yeah, you're not alone.
It's one of those problems that
nothing-
plague so many games.
nothing
It's just
to
that the tutorial sections are just too long. Where it's
Yeah.
like, okay, first time, this is great. Like I tried to play Outer Worlds the second time. I was like, I just don't want to get off this. Like, I just want to get off this planet, and I'm here forever. I never get to leave.
Yeah, it's like that opening cart sequence in Skyrim.
Oh God, yeah.
Too, where you're just like, oh, just cut that guy's head off already. Jeez.
Yeah, I played Skyrim like 3 times, and then I was like, all right, I'm downloading a mod that'll just start me.
Yeah,
in solitude.
exactly. Yeah.
Just
And what did
right
you
at the
guys?
beginning.
What did you guys all play for the like purposes of this podcast? What did you play on?
I played on Switch.
Okay.
I used a PSP.
Uh-huh.
I played a Super Nintendo version of this game. We'll say.
Yeah. Playing on Switch
So-
is the right answer.
Yeah, it's the best way to play it.
Oh my God.
unfortunately
And I'm
don't
sure
have
that
it.
like if you're emulating or whatever, like you've got access to save states and everything, but like I can't imagine playing this on Super Nintendo hardware. And like the whole time I was playing this, I was just marveling at the fact that I beat this. And as far as I recall, without like having a strategy guide or anything, like I said, it was one of the reasons I dropped out of college, because I think that's all I did was play this stupid game. It took a lot of time, and then also being able to rewind when you're like, I don't want to get hit by that boss.
Yeah.
Like that fireball just going bloop, and it is. I can't imagine playing it any other way.
Or just like falling through a floor, like 3 floors below, and it's just like, oh, well, that's going to be another 10 minutes. I'll just rewind.
Exactly. You're like, yeah, that's not the hole I want to fall through. Well, it's the one on the left, actually.
Oh my God. Every time I got knocked off a ledge, I wanted a fairy to lose its wings.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah, it's funny. I always thought that like playing games that way, I felt like I wouldn't enjoy them because I'd be like, oh, all the challenge is gone. And now anytime I play a game, I'm like, oh, I just wish I could rewind. It's just
yeah.
a feature in every game.
Absolutely. I remember like a long time ago, I played Earthbound again. And I think at that time I was playing on a modded Xbox, and there was a button, you could have like the battles can play themselves, you could automate those, but it also had like a fast forward the emulation. So you go into a random encounter and just hold down that weird white button that was on the Xbox controller, and it would just like blast through that entire thing in like 5 seconds. It was transformative. So, but you shouldn't play on modded Xbox and whatnot, You should keep buying these games that Nintendo wants to charge you for 15 times.
We're not telling anyone to do it, but here's all the benefits to why you should do it.
Yes.
No, we're not.
Keep buying these games.
I bought this game twice on 2 different Wiis I don't have access to anymore. And I still remember that. Oh man.
I had a doctor once who was I was taking like Adderall when I was in high school, and the doctor was like, okay, like this is really good, it's like really beneficial, and you need this, here's why. And don't sell the medicine. I was like, I wasn't planning on it. He's like, good, because you can get like $20 per pill. And I was like, what? Okay, hold on.
And don't crush it up and snort it. You're gonna want to take this orally, even though like crushing it up and snorting it is like an immediate effect, and it's so good and you'll love it.
It's like it's so easy. It's so people sell it all the time. It's a great way to make like you can make like $600 a week, and there's very little risk of getting caught. And I was like, don't sell me this. I wasn't thinking about selling it until you told me this.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's basically like having a job. It's better than having a job. I was like, okay.
So speaking of openings, I love this opening still. Like it doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
I love going through the dungeon. I still laugh when you knock the knights down into the darkness and they shake for a second and they fall away.
Yeah.
I still love that.
What's funny to me is that the rain is I don't know what it is. Something about the rain is still so impressive, despite how like what games are now, like what I understand games to be now. I still look at that rain and I'm like, oh, that looks so good.
Yeah. The thing with this too is like at the time, like I remember the Genesis came out before, obviously, and it just that hardware did not have a way to natively have transparencies and that kind of effect, which you just take for granted now with games. But being able to see like in the woods, you know, well, there's that weird effect where you could see like vegetation kind of obscuring the camera, and then like that rain effect. It was so unbelievably cool at the time that this game came out that I think it's easy to forget that like those little touches, how amazing they were at the time.
Oh yeah.
It's funny, it's like I said, I wasn't even born when this game came out. I still, whenever I play it, I still think about it as if I was like 7
Yeah.
in 1991. I was like, whoa, I can't believe the Wayne.
This game to me, I mean, I feel like the graphics of this game, they don't age. Like this game still looks really good, even though I mean that's the glory of 16-bit. But I also love 16-bit games, so that's part of it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I often wonder about that, where like because we've played so many PlayStation games on the show now, like early PS1 games, they look like garbage. Like they just age so poorly. I always think about when people are like, oh, I want to remaster this game. I want this game to come back. I always think about if you remastered like a PlayStation era game, like unmastered it back to 16-bit, how it would look. Like if you took the first GoldenEye and put it back into 16-bit, would it look even better?
Yeah, I don't know. I think Nintendo went a little too crazy on the color scheme here. Link's hair being purple.
Yeah,
it's
a choice.
I want it to come back. I wanted Breath of the Wild to have pink-haired Link in it.
Yeah.
It took me a long time to realize he had pink hair. Like I beat this game more than once before I went, wait a second, he has pink hair. Huh. That's weird. Like I was just normal to me. I'm like, oh, okay.
Pink hair and like a lilac hat, and then like green eyebrows and a red poncho or something. It's so weird.
One thing we got to talk about is how bad an uncle his uncle is. Here, kid, I stubbed my toe. Here, have a sword, have a shield. Go in this castle where you might get killed. I know I'm your guardian and all, but it's okay. Like that
exactly.
As a kid, it didn't occur to me. Now I'm like, that seems kind of odd. Like,
I like that.
Here you go.
I like that his uncle is like part of the personal guard to protect Zelda, and yet they don't live within the castle. They live like across the river.
Yeah, it's a short commute to work.
He wakes up every day at 3 a.m. and goes to the castle.
Yeah,
to just be there.
He owns one of 5 private residences in all of Hyrule.
Just love the idea that there's the whole castle, and only people that are allowed to live there are the king and Zelda. Yeah. Nobody else. And like one wizard that will inevitably betray them. We don't want anyone in the way.
Well, you can't do it anymore, but I remember the instruction book, just digging through that instruction book, looking all the where that's where majority of your story is. And I mean, they give you story in this game, but all the backstory is mostly in the book, which is an age well gone nowadays.
Yeah, it's kind of sad. I do miss. I'm one of those people where I say bring it on with digital. I get that some people like collecting. I don't typically love collecting copies of games. Switch does it really well, where almost all Switch games have that reversible cover that is just really good art. But I won't just go out and buy a disc that's like, this is all right. But I do miss like the manuals that you would get. If only, like, I wish they would get like a PDF or something. You could download like a little README file with every game that you could download if you wanted.
Yeah, there was always like you'd get like a really thick book and it'd be super exciting, and then you start thumbing through it and you're like, oh yeah, 2/3 of this is notes at the end where they clearly like, we got 32 pages we've got to fill, and I've got 18 pages of material to work with, if we're being honest.
I love those note sections. No one ever used, even if you had like cheats that you wanted to use, you just borrowed a friend's copy of like Nintendo Power or something.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, what kind of monster writes in those things? Good grief.
I never did.
I hope there was somebody out there that was like, they saw the note section and they thought that was like instruction, like they had to take very specific notes.
Yep, like they're save Zelda and then underlining it twice. This seems important.
What are the major themes of this game? A brainstorming tree.
What is an uncle? What is an uncle's role?
It's like the Triforce Run. Courage, wisdom.
I still think it's weird how the whole rescue plan is, hey, let's go hide in this church a little bit away from the castle. They'll never find us here.
Yeah, exactly.
We're out for a while.
I like that in this universe, Hyrule is essentially like Game of Thrones, where it has that wall around the entire kingdom. No one can get in and out. Only a duck can leave.
Yeah.
If you need to go out of town for any business, you've got to get a duck to carry you over the wall to another town.
I mean, that's one thing about Zelda, well, especially at least in the old ones, where it's all one enclosed world, which I still think I like. I still like a lot. And I was surprised how much of this game is still in my head. Like, I played almost this entire game without using a guide. Everything was just there. Oh, that item's in that chest. Like, yeah. This is one of those games where so much of my gaming has came from this game affecting it and changing me over the years, and I still love it.
So how many times have you beaten it over the years then?
I think 7 or 8.
Oh, good grief.
But I also used to play the intro a lot, and I would get to a certain point, and I'd be like, okay, I'm done now.
Oh, okay.
I don't like some of the last couple dungeons. I would stop there.
Well, there's like, once you get to the Dark World and you have to go to, is it like I think it's the Ice Dungeon, the Ice Palace, where it's like it turns into like a nightmare. Just puzzles and back and forth. Backtracking.
This is definitely like another reminder that ice temples still suck.
I think just the concept of ice, we can expand it a little broader, is ice is no good in video games.
It's not good in real life either.
I think the only game we've played so far where I've enjoyed ice levels is Dark Forces, and that's because within 5 minutes of getting to the ice level, they give you shoes that completely negate the ice.
Yeah, perfect.
You just experience it for a second. You're like, all right, we're done with that.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Like in the first dungeon, I mean, I feel like that does a very good job of explaining to you how the game is going to go and start getting you very used to like the dungeon design and just the way that the game plays. I still, even to this day, it feels like it still holds up very well, just in that kind of aspect with it.
Yeah, I was thinking it was like the prototype game. Like this is like if someone was like, oh, what game should I play for the 16-bit era to like really understand games from that era? Link to the Past. It's the perfect prototype of what a game should be from that era. Mechanically, it's just absurdly well made. And then like every dungeon you go into, it has that little like you see areas that you can't get to yet, but you know you'll be coming back to later. Like that's such a thing in games.
Yeah.
I just love them.
Yeah, and I think it's like completely representative of that era of games in that there's also just like some real tedious bullshit in there too thrown in where you're just like, oh yeah, this in a lot of ways games are better now. But this is great. This is like I know it's unpopular. You gotta like, you can only say nice things about Link to the Past because it is like one of our most important treasures that we all have as a gaming community. But boy, there is some tedious bullshit in Link to the Past for sure.
Like
career over.
Like lighting the torches.
like which one?
Lighting the torches.
Oh yeah.
That.
Yeah.
Maybe I got goggles on the entire time when it comes to this game, so
yeah.
I honestly I kind of hate the damn bouncy things that like pling you all across the map. These things are so annoying. You'll see enemies run into them, and you're like, haha, idiot! Like,
yep.
stupid moron running. Don't you know you shouldn't run into that? And then 5 minutes later, I'm doing the same thing and flying off the side.
Yeah, that's why you play it on the Switch, and then you just rewind it instantly, and no one has to know.
That's probably what he did. I had save state, so if something went bad, I went up, load, never mind that.
Yeah.
So that's the right way for that. That's the way I play. Any game we do for the show, I play with save states when possible, just so I can speed it up.
Yeah.
But when you're playing what we're doing, it helps.
It just makes things more enjoyable.
Yeah.
People like say like it's those things where people think like every game needs to be hard. I'm like, no, just make it easy. I just want to play an easy game. Sometimes I just want to like have fun when playing a video game.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I kind of had a question for everybody. Did anyone feel like the story of this kind of resembled Ocarina of Time a lot in many ways?
Yeah.
I up until I'd say Majora's Mask, I didn't really pay attention to any Zelda storylines. And then Majora's Mask, I was like when I got involved because they're all so simple and basically the same thing. Like,
this takes place supposedly after, well, in the official time, I shouldn't even say supposedly, in Ocarina of Time, when he loses, that's what leads to Link to the Past. And the hero is defeated. Which wasn't out there at the time, because that didn't exist yet.
I've said this before. I kind of like Mario is the same way, where it's like occasionally they'll have a trick where it's like, oh, the bad guy isn't Bowser, but it's always Bowser.
Yeah.
It's like that simple story of like, exactly what's going to happen in this game. Zelda's going to get kidnapped. It's going to be by Ganon. He wants the Triforce. You got to take it from him. You got to do bunch of fetch stuff and put it back together and then beat Ganon. That's every Zelda game, and I'm fine with that. I like that some games like to kind of twist it up and trick you. Or like Breath of the Wild, 90% of the game is like you forget that Ganon exists, but at the end of the game, you're still killing Ganon.
Yeah,
and I'm okay with that.
One,
I'm okay with being simple.
You're not after the Triforce really in this game. I mean, it's in the world, but you're not collecting pieces or having anything to do with it, other than you're just like the whole first half of the game. It's just get the 3 pendants so you can get the Master Sword.
Right.
Well, they have the Maidens, which is basically collecting the Triforce.
But they're not gold, they're crystals. I know.
Completely different. Completely different shiny object. Yeah,
I do want to mention the Armos Knight boss. Isn't it called Armos Knight? Right?
Yeah.
Okay. I still enjoy that fight when they start dancing towards you. I don't know why. I love that sprite.
I'm still convinced that that's a typo. I've always been convinced that was a typo that like Miyamoto made really early in development, and nobody wanted to correct him on it.
Yeah.
Armos instead of armor, and everyone was like, "Oh yeah, no, the Almos Mites. That's right. Yeah, that's what he wanted."
Yeah.
It sounds cooler when you do stuff like that. Nobody? Okay.
It sounds cooler, Mike. I agree.
I think it's cooler. I still think one of the best items in this game is a Pegasus. Well, at least one of my favorite items, I should say, the Pegasus boots. I still, once I get them, I never stop. I remember that as a kid. It's so exhilarating.
Every game that has an item that impacts how quickly you move, that's the best item. Like, hands down. Any game where it's like, okay, these shoes will make you run faster. It's like, I don't care about anything else. I'm going to use this 90% of the time. I don't care about the sword that instant kills enemies.
So the Pegasus boots are basically like the Air Jordans of the Zelda world.
Yeah.
Sure.
What are those? It's the shoes from Like Mike. Does anyone remember Like Mike?
Oh my God.
The movie where the kid got Michael Jordan's shoes and he could jump as high as Michael Jordan.
I'm so glad we brought this up. Let's talk about this.
Shout out
That was
to
almost
Like
a
Mike.
weird subgenre, because there was also that movie was Sidekick, where the kid had like an imaginary relationship with Chuck Norris, who would like help him out. And like I remember the kid had to climb a rope in gym class and was running out of steam, and then he looked over and saw Chuck Norris on the rope next to him, and it gave him like the fuel in his tank that he needed to like propel himself upward. I don't recommend that movie, but it just seems like a strange artifact of that era. And I'm gonna cut my mic off for a little bit here. Goodbye.
1992. Sidekicks.
Yeah.
When did Like Mike come out?
I want to say
10 years later, almost the same story.
Oh yeah.
I think
We all got it up here.
I think that was the parody movies that they did in Fairly Odd Parents as well, where it was like the Crimson Chin and Cleft the Boy Chin Wonder. And it was just like he got like a chin strap that made him exactly like the Crimson Chin. Or dumb movies like that.
I feel like the updated version would probably be like somebody running for mayor and like they always see Steven Seagal next to them or something.
Or oh god, why can't I remember his name now? Who's the wrestler? Who's the who lost his mind and became mayor?
Oh, Jesse Ventura.
Jesse, yeah.
He was like the mayor, and then he became our governor in Minnesota.
Yeah, that's right.
Now he's Jesse the Mind Ventura.
Yeah.
I don't know why I always forget his name because I can only think of him as either the body or the mind.
Yeah, you don't live in Minnesota.
That's true. Yeah. I've been to Minnesota.
See, me and Jeff, we live in Minnesota, so
exactly. I can't stop thinking about him.
Surprisingly, the 3 days I spent at 2D Con, Jesse Ventura came up very little.
All right. Speaking of Zelda, one thing I thought was funny, I was talking to Stefan beforehand when we were playing through this game, and he was having a problem with those stupid worms. And I was like, no, they're freaking easy. I remember when I was a kid, and I went and fought them like, oh, this is annoying. Like, it's not hard, but it's just annoying.
Worst enemy game.
The Desert Palace bosses?
Yeah.
Yes. The land moldas.
Yeah.
I never knew they had a name.
Well, good for you, because they became a staple of the series, and they were in every game since. They're like, hey, people love these worm things. Let's make it a boss.
Like Zelda really, like, the series has a thing for enemies that like come at you from underneath, and you can see like their shadow first. And I don't know that I have ever had a moment where I'm like, I like this. This is neat and cool. I was like, oh, we're doing this again, I guess. All right.
Yeah.
So it's the one boss you have to get through to love all the other bosses of the game. Like every game has that jelly monster boss with the eyeball in it that you have to pull out with a hook shot.
Yeah.
You beat them the same way every single time.
Yeah. I kind of like that one though. I don't know. Maybe that you can calibrate whether or not you agree with my opinions, generally speaking, by if you like that kind of eyeball monster that's the same in all the Zelda games. I like that too.
Like Zelda, essentially, like in my mind, Zelda and Mario have always been like the Flash Gordon of games. It's like the monster of the week, where it's very simple, very basic. You know what you're gonna get, but you're happy going into it.
Yeah.
Flash Gordon is always gonna save the day. I'm cool with that.
Yeah, the worm monster is always gonna have a flashy tail that you want to hit.
Yeah,
That's how they're built, baby.
You always know. You know exactly how to beat the enemy.
Yeah, you're gonna want to charge that spin shot immediately.
If it has a single big eyeball, that's the spot.
Yep, exactly.
If its mouth is open, monster, you better get out a bomb.
If it's a worm monster, you just gotta jam your sword right up its anus.
Yep.
I know you're supposed to use. I think you can use bombs on them too. I feel like I didn't, but I think that's the strategy when I watched speedrunners play through this game before.
Oh, I just swung wildly.
Same. I didn't predict anything with this boss. One thing about the Desert Palace, at least outside, that I always thought was such a cool monster because of this instruction book, are the sand, like the sand men that come out of the sand that come after you.
Yeah.
I always remember in the instruction booklet, there's that cool image of him stabbing one. I remember as a kid, like, oh, I can't wait to get to it. I'm like, oh, this ain't that cool. But the image is cool.
I like that. Like, the context of that is they're just lying under the sand for like hours upon hours waiting for someone to walk by.
Yeah.
What's their goal there?
There isn't one.
They wake up at the same time as your uncle. They go up at 3 a.m. and they dig a hole and they sit and they wait. Yeah, I bet a 12-year-old's gonna walk through here. We can fuck him up. He'll be carrying 999 rupees on him. They always are.
It's not hard to max out rupees in this game because they don't. I mean, one thing I thought also was like this game does a good job of helping you get a lot of rupees early on because you need it for the Zora flippers, which so I know that was kind of nice. It does a very good way of leading you from one dungeon to the next, to one area to the next. I don't think that's just nostalgic in my eyes that this game actually did it.
I actually didn't like that part. I got to the flippers with like 100 coins. I need it still. And I was like, well, this is stupid. I hate this game.
Stefan, did you not know about the room? The best room in any video game?
Room?
Yeah, there's a room. There's a room you walk into, and there's like, I think like 50 rupees in it, and you walk out the door and you walk back in and they respawn because it counts as like a mini dungeon within the code.
Is this next to the Sand Temple, I believe, right?
I think it's over in the Zora area.
Oh. No, I didn't hit that room.
Yeah.
I really communicate and play games.
Yeah, we never talk about games together for some reason.
Just for the
For
show.
like an hour and a half every week, we discuss the game, but past that, we never give each other any advice. We've said like at least 6 or 7 times now that we really need to talk to each other and give tips and stuff.
Yeah.
There was when we did Dark Forces, Mike had the manual to the game, and Stefan and I didn't know there was a manual, so we didn't know what half the keys did.
Oh yeah.
Like I think I spent a good like 20 minutes Dark Forces trying to figure out how to reload, and Mike was like, "Oh yeah, I have this this code sheet that has. Oh yeah, there's a flashlight. Did you know there's a flashlight?" And we're like, "No, what?"
I forgot about that. Oh, I can't. Speaking of dumb things, what's the point of that old guy standing lost in the dark cave? Like I've never understood why there's just this random old guy in the mountain. That always confused me as a
Just
kid.
lost.
Still as an adult.
It reminded me of those lyrics from Aqualung, sitting on a park bench, eyeing little girls with bad intent. You know? No.
Stefan's niche.
I got nothing.
Stefan and I, we both have really niche humor that we just like to throw out that like 3 people get.
I'm basically saying he looks like a pervert.
Okay.
Moving along.
He gives you a mirror.
I like how you
I
pointed
don't
out him
like.
and not the man next to the sign.
Well, the man next to his sign does something good to me. He gives me the last bottle, so I had no problem with him.
Mhm.
Just like again, he wakes up at 3 a.m. Everybody in this universe, they wake up
Who here
early to
3
get
a.m.?
for you. And he goes to the sign and he just sits and he waits next to a sign that addresses him specifically. Don't talk to the man next to the sign. Just ignore him. Did he make that sign? Did somebody else make it? I have many questions.
Opens up his jacket. What are you buying?
That'd be
Okay.
But yeah, there's that room that you just go in and out of, and I spent probably, I'm not even joking, all in all, I think I spent 30 to 40 minutes just walking in and out of that room and getting up to 1,000 rupees so I could buy a bunch of stuff.
There are a few things to buy. You have the bottle you can buy in Kakariko Village, which I like, and you get the second one right behind the guy in the bar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it does.
Oh, yeah.
Again, another part where I felt like the game is giving you the tools you need to succeed very well.
Yeah.
I love this game too much. I'm trying to tone it down.
Either way. It gives you, like, unlike any other Zelda, you get 2 bottles within like the first hour of gameplay. You can have 2 bottles, which is crazy compared to like Ocarina of Time, where it's like I will literally kill a man for a bottle right now. You understand?
Yeah.
Well, I'm kind of curious because this is obviously my first time playing this, and I only used a guide when I was really stuck, and it happened maybe I want to say 4 or 5 times. But did anyone else, like back in the day when they were playing this, kind of figure out, like when you come to a fairy fountain, to toss things into it to upgrade them without a guide?
But
Yeah.
despite the fact that I know what items you get from which fountain, I still throw every single item in because I always think I forgot one.
Yeah, that was weird.
I could look
That's
it
what
up,
I
but
do.
I sit there and I'm like, "Will you take the bow? No. Will you take the boomerang? Okay, sweet. It takes the boomerang."
First time I played it, I remember sitting there throwing every single item into it. So, but now I just know.
Did you
what to
find?
take.
I'm trying to think. You don't have to do the second one, right? The second one's optional. I guess
The
they're both
second one
optional.
gets you silver arrows to beat the game.
Okay,
Right.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
the
and
first-
some of the fairies too, if I remember, aren't they like she beasts or something? Like later on in the Dark World? No, I just remember they weren't fairies later. They were like these weird creatures.
No, fairies are still the same. I mean, there's the purple chickens.
I have
well,
the wiki pulled up with all the monster names, and whenever somebody says them, I'm just scrolling through like, the hell's a purple chicken? I can't remember.
Well, that's what I always called them. When I don't know what they are, other than they replaced the chicken sprite with a purple looking thing that clucks when you hit it and kills you if you hit them too many times.
Was that the one?
This is also the first Zelda game to have the chickens try to kill you.
Yeah, that's true. Not chickens, cuckoos. Cuckoos.
Yeah.
I never know how to
Everything
say
will
it. How do
kill
you
you.
say it? Cucco. How do you pronounce that word?
I don't know how to pronounce anything that's in a Zelda game. 'Cause nobody's capable of speech, so they never
It's
say it
true.
themselves.
Yeah,
So
that should have been the entire point of Breath of the Wild, is just saying things for the first time so that people understood it.
that would be very helpful.
There's one enemy that they say the name of in Breath of the Wild, and I was like, oh, I've been saying that wrong for years.
Yeah.
It was like the Stalfos or something. I always said Stalfos. Okay.
I figured out though when we were replaying this, I still freaking hate that damn caterpillar guy, Molden, up in the tower.
What was everyone's least favorite enemies? Because I know mine off the top of my head.
It's just an annoying fight.
My least favorite enemy has never changed in Zelda. It's the same one that's in every game, and I hate it, and I want it to die. The fucking hands.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was right.
The Wall Master is the most annoying enemy I will ever come across in any game.
Yeah.
It didn't bother me this time around, but when I played it before, I've hated it most of my time throughout with this game before.
See, there's the annoying thing about them is that they're so easy to dodge in almost every game. But then when it does get you, you're just like you have that feeling of shame. You're like, oh God, I should have just missed it.
Especially there's like one spot where you have to drag a knight statue onto a button.
Oh, yeah.
And infuriating. Just one of the worst like all-time moments in games is putting that stupid statue, because then when you walk over the button also it like triggers it, and then the statue doesn't do it, so you have to like backtrack in a weird way. It's hard to articulate, but it's not a natural like sequence of events. And then that stupid hand is like always coming. It seems like it's always like 4 seconds too frequently, where it's just like if you just would like slow your roll a little bit, we'd be fine. You know, I can.
There's one room late game where there's like 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah,
it's just like constant movement.
Yeah. They're definitely worse in this game than I'm sure Jeff could back me up on this too. They're worse in this game than they are even in the original.
Oh
They're
yeah,
really bad.
yeah, by far, for sure. This is like their worst. Yeah.
This is probably their worst appearance in the whole. It's not like how like arguably one of the best games in the series, one of the most important games of all time. The worst Wall Master, the worst enemy in gaming.
Absolutely.
I had a real moment of terror when playing this game this week, because I stood on one of those switches, and when you step on them, there's like a half-second delay where the game freezes and like a door opens, and it shows you the door opening. And I stepped on the button as I saw the shadow on the button, and so I saw like the hand stopped in midair above me for that half second and just hovered. Genuinely one of the most horrifying things that happened to me.
Yeah, Link needs like, I know he's got the Pegasus boots, but he needs like a combat roll where he can like somehow evade. I think it would also look very sweet.
Just give him one of those German helmets with like the spike on top of it.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of solutions here.
Just hold your sword straight up. Like if I was in Zelda, every time I went into a dungeon, I'd just be holding my sword straight above my head at all times.
Yeah, we know he can do it because when he picks up the Master Sword, that's the motion he immediately makes.
It'd be great. That needs to be a thing, and like whatever the next Zelda is, they're talking about like Breath of the Wild 2, is you pick up the Master Sword and hold it up, and right at that moment, a Wall Master comes down and just impales itself.
That would be phenomenal. Yep.
And that's the only appearance of the Wall Master in that game.
Yep.
Done.
A total one-off joke.
Immediately. Bye-bye.
God, even if they did that, that'd be such an effective way to just put every player on edge for the next Zelda game. They just show a Wall Master in the beginning, and then they don't put it in any dungeon.
Yeah, he'd be like, maybe they could have like a Mr. X style, like Resident Evil 2 remake with a Wall Master chasing you around a dungeon.
Oh God, that'd be terrifying.
Yeah.
I think I'd hate that actually. The thought of being chased by a giant hand.
It's funny too, because like that is the all-time worst enemy, and an enemy that I've always hated in the Zelda games too. And this is another one of those things that, having never heard anyone pronounce it, I'll probably get it wrong. It's like the lick, the like, the thing that looks like a stack of pancakes, I believe.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
It eats your shield. Like. Freaking hate those things, but they're completely manageable in this one. Like I remember them being way more annoying in the first Zelda. But here they were just like, no big deal. Never had any problems with them whatsoever. So,
yeah, they're easy to kill in this one compared to the first one.
I hate those just because the thought of what they would look like in real life. I guess they would just look like barnacles, but like more squirmy. I think there's like a sea slug that looks like them. I just hate the image of them.
Yeah, for sure.
You're in the ocean.
Yes, sure. Yeah. Look,
I live in Virginia. That's part of
living so close to the ocean. I understand that there are true horrors that live within the waters.
See, that's why I live in Minnesota. There's no ocean near me anywhere.
Oh.
I don't have to worry about stuff trying to kill me.
Yeah, for all of our listeners, if you want to not sleep for like a week, just look up what everyone I think knows what a horseshoe crab looks like for the most part, but no one knows what the underside of a horseshoe crab looks like. And it's bad. It's real bad.
Yeah.
It's you flip one of those things over and it looks like an alien. Like
And they've got blue blood too.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they are 100% not from this planet.
Yeah.
They've got 10 pincers and they've got blue blood and they've got like a little mouth right in the center of their bodies. That's just, they're terrifying creatures.
It's like the opposite of a stingray, where if you flip that over, you're like, oh, that's a nice surprise. You get like what looks like a smile and like cute little eyes. Yeah,
Horseshoe crab is anime cat smile.
Yeah.
I do got a question.
As someone that fishes, though, stingrays are assholes.
Oh.
Anyone that's ever gone fishing and caught like a skate or a ray, like if you like trying to get a hook out of a stingray's mouth and they open their mouths, it's just like rows of teeth as far back as you can see. Basically, my role in this podcast is to make everyone afraid of the water. It's like, oh, a shark's not going to kill you. All this other stuff is what you really need to be afraid of.
I do got a random story about stingrays I want to say real quick before we get back to Zelda. Over at the Mall America, they have the SeaWorld place. I know I'm calling it wrong. Sea Life down below. And we were petting the stingrays once. And my wife put her hand in the wrong way where you're supposed to feed them, but she didn't have food. So he goes over, he goes to her hand. She has no food. He immediately turns around, does a U-turn, and slaps water right on her and then swims off. And it was just great because she fed someone else. And I'm like, he was pissed. He's like, your hand is supposed to be a certain way for petting me, another way for feeding me. He was mad. So
yeah, they're like cats. They're just assholes.
Yeah,
it was great. Like he knew. He's like, nope. Okay. I'm curious about this. Every time I
Kansas
fought,
we were talking about.
Yeah, Eggenheim.
I was hoping
Wizard.
one of you guys knew how to pronounce that.
I do not. Eggenim? I always said Eggenim when I was. That's how I pronounced it.
Mr. A.
Mr. A.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Mr. A, I always fight him with the bug catching net because for some reason somebody told me that's the best way to deflect the weapons, and I'm looking back and I'm like, I know you can, but am I the only person that does that?
I think
I do it.
I saw that you can do that, but I never have attempted to do that.
Okay, it works.
I do it for the novelty of it. It's actually not as effective as the sword.
Okay, so
you got like that, like I guess you could argue that there's a wider swing on the bug catching net, but
slower too.
It's slower, yeah. So the sword is just the easier way to do it. I always do it for the novelty of it, and I like the idea of like this wizard that's worked with Ganon for 100 years, and he's this like evil wizard that's killed hundreds of Hylians, and I kill him with a bug catching net. I think that's funny.
I just thought that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
It's like the equivalent of it's the equivalent of like beating a sub boss to death with like a twig. It's just like idiot.
His sprite is really confusing too. I don't know if you guys have had that experience where you can look at it two different ways, like it's the old hag or the beautiful maiden, like the optical illusion where you're like, is this a guy with like a green bowl haircut who's like making a kissy face, or is the real face is underneath it, but like once you see it the other way, it's hard to see it like the way that you saw it before. It's very strange. I a lot of sprites were like, what are you?
What's funny is I see it a completely different way because I always think his helmet is his head, like is his actual face. Yeah. Because on his helmet, he's got that little like upside down or that little like W on it, and it looks like a seal smiling. And so I always just imagine it's like a seal.
Oh, that's I have not thought about it that way. That works too.
He's like the Rorschach test of characters.
What a mysterious character. I love him.
What's funny is I don't think it was until Breath of the Wild that I considered the fact that Lynels are centaurs. I just always thought they were just guys.
Oh yeah.
Breath of the Wild came out, and I was like, oh, they're like huge horse things. I thought it was just a guy with like a weird thing on his head.
They're only in one spot in this game that you have to deal with them, which is up on the mountain. I just skip them because they do a lot of freaking damage to you if you deal with them.
There are enemies like that where they just show up in one place. Like every area has its like unique enemies. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Come across the like even in like the different colored moblins and stuff that are there. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hate some of the enemies in this game. Sorry.
Oh no, some of them are real assholes. Some of them are just downright like the I don't know how to say this word either. I think it's Kodongos. Kodongos.
Oh yeah.
What?
The little green guys that you hit and they just get pushed back and they turn to stone.
Oh, okay.
And then they'll revive. So many times playing this game, I'll hit one of those things and it'll go right in front of a doorway, and I have to wait for it to come back to life, and then I gotta hit it out of the way again so I can go through the door.
Yeah, that's a real problem.
And they're all
They've also got those enemies like the little green pickle guy, and then also the floating jellyfish thing. They were very fond of the whole we're gonna make the screen pixelated for a split second if you hit them when you're not supposed to.
Oh, are those the snot ones that shock you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Those are called
Buzz blob.
barries.
Oh, we're talking about two different things, I think.
Barries are the berries, I think.
Yes, the jellyfish.
Yeah, the jellyfish things.
Yeah, but then there's also the guys that are like pickles. They look like a little green pickle, and they hang out by the witch's hut, kind of in that area.
Yeah.
Buzz blob.
Mhm.
Buzz blob, naturally.
I have it all pulled up right now as we're talking.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm looking up too.
I don't just know this by heart.
You're just referring to the tattoo on your chest, okay?
Yeah. It's his
Speaking of
entire
tattoos,
chest.
Right sheets.
I was supposed to get a Link tattoo
Tattooed
from
upside
the
down so
game
you can read it.
on my shoulder as a wedding present. Me and my wife can get matching tattoos, but I'm a wuss. I don't have a tattoo. And she still every so often brings it up. But yeah, since you mentioned that, I wanted to bring that up.
I think this is my favorite iteration of BMOSs, though. BMI? The statues that shoot lasers at you.
Oh, with the eyeball?
I hate those things.
They're the least annoying in this game than they are in any other game.
Yeah. But they're still very annoying.
Yes.
Oh yeah. But they're not like in Wind Waker, they're positioned in such a way where they'll shoot you off of a giant tower. It's
Yeah.
just like, right, I'm in the ocean now. I just fell 40 stories into the water, and I gotta climb all the way back up.
And we have to give special shout out to the Dark World tree with the eyeballs that if you bump into it, it throws a bomb at you.
Yeah. Out of its
Simply the
weird
best.
mouth thing, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another creature I don't understand the anatomy of, and also because my first interaction with a tree in Ocarina, a really important tree, was in Ocarina, the Deku tree.
Right.
So are those the same species as the Deku tree, or are they a separate thing?
It's a very smart question.
They the baby Yodas of Deku. But no, we know from other Zeldas that they become the Deku sprouts, because you got to find those all over the place in every Zelda game past Wind Waker.
Yeah.
So at some point, do they get rooted to the ground and then just spend 200 years being angry about the fact that they can't move?
This is a good question. I don't know.
a lot of questions about weird enemies in Zelda.
Yeah, this game's full of them.
Yeah. I think most of them can be summarized by, what is your deal? Exactly.
What's going on with you? I do like how all the enemies change in the Dark World to something similar, though, where it's it's become little hoppy monsters.
Yeah.
The Dark World is so freaking cool. Just the fact that you have it's the same world and they just change things around. I mean, when I first played this game, and even to this day, I think it's very impressive.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like the Dark World dungeons as much, but I like the world itself. I think it's just a cool effect.
Yeah. Before we go to the Dark World, we should talk about getting the Master Sword, because that's a really fun
Good point.
Oh yeah.
moment.
We
If we're going to talk about Zelda, we're going to skip the Master Sword entirely.
Yeah, we were. We just kept going. I'm like, yeah, who cares about that?
It's not like it's the most iconic video game weapon or anything. We're fine.
Yeah, that's it's great. You gotta you can't just grab it. You have to get all the medals first, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you have to have the book too.
Yeah, you gotta run past all those asshole thief guys.
Oh, God. I hate those guys so much.
God, I feel like a broken record, but they are simply the worst. They are awful.
The perfect Zelda enemy is if a wall master picked up one of them and dropped it on you.
Yes, exactly.
That'd be the absolute worst thing to happen to you.
And then in exchange, it took stuff out of your pocket. It was I'll take I'll give you the guy, and I'm gonna take your rupees.
Yeah.
Well, the thing
it's you'll drop your boomerang or something. It's God damn it! I didn't know I could lose that.
The thing is also so stupid about that part is that like those thieves will knock into you, steal your rupees. You can go in a room, you'll see the exact same sprite. Like, hey, what can I sell you? Like, did you steal from me, asshole?
Yeah.
Like,
that really raises some questions too. Like, you'll be buying something from somebody, and you're like, how did you procure this?
Exactly.
Did you steal this? Did you beat an old man halfway to death and steal his empty bottle?
it's the Hylian version of Goodwill. They just get your stuff. Hey, I got this thing for $1 to sell you for $1. What do you say? So,
I like how there's a bunch of fake swords throughout that area too. That are just there to trick you.
I fell for each and every one of them too.
It's one of those things. It should be so obvious. You're going through and you're like, well, obviously that's not the Master Sword because it's 5 feet within the intro to this dungeon.
Yeah, I was like, oh, this is a lot easier than I remember this being. I'm also a lot dumber than I used to be too.
You pick it up, you walk 10 feet, and you're like, hey, a Master Sword. Awesome.
The first time I played this game, I do remember being like, oh, it's right there. I'm like, oh, where is it? I do remember it irritating me the very first time.
Mm-hmm.
Now I just know now it was just easy where to go. But it is cool when all the little animals are jumping around when you're going to grab it.
Yeah,
that scene is still so epic. I actually had the music on for this episode. Most of this game had music playing that wasn't a podcast, so I'm proud of myself. I never listen to music in games usually when we play for the show.
Yeah,
I think that was my favorite forest in a Zelda game until Breath of the Wild came out, where it has that like fog over top of it.
Mm-hmm.
It looks so good. It's got the multiple transparency layers on it where it's like you see clouds going back and forth and the fog.
Yeah. I also appreciate that it's like it has the qualities of being a maze without just being like, oh yeah, you have to look at this tablet and you go up twice and then go left once into some bullshit like that, where it's like, okay, you can kind of suss out where you're supposed to go and get there.
I think
Not bad.
I think I've beaten this game like 6 times now, and I still get lost in that maze every single time. It's just like, oh, you need to enter from this side, right? Oh, no, I was supposed to. Every single time I enter from the side entrance.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, wait, no, I should have just gone up the bottom because that's way faster.
Yep.
That's how I was going. I mean, that's just because coming from the town. That's what's in my brain.
Yeah, same here.
It's weird that there are like 3 entrances, I think, or 4 entrances to that area by the end of the game, because you can go in from either the front side, you can go around the side and run into the 2 lumberjack dudes that are just constantly cutting one tree down.
Yeah,
all for a heart piece.
All for a heart piece. You can go at some point. You can like open up 2 separate entrances at the bottom. There's like 3 entrances all within like 50 feet of each other, but you have to go through like wildly different routes to get to any of them. It's so odd.
Yeah, it's very clearly like a popular tourist attraction, as evidenced by all the fake swords. It's kind of like, hey, go in there and be a hero. Get your sword.
But it's too popular, so they have to put like a giant rock down in front of one of the entrances.
Exactly.
That happened to me when I went to New York. We wanted to go see Ellis Island, but the harbor was just one giant boulder in front of the entrance, and we couldn't go. We didn't have the boots to lift them up, sadly. So
It'd be the gloves, sir.
I'm sorry, the gloves. Yeah, I think it's boots in one of the Zelda games. Or no, I'm thinking of the heavy boots that let you walk underwater.
Yeah,
iron boots.
Yeah, iron.
Oh,
boots.
but like with the forest, the reason why you have those multiple paths has a lot to do with the third Dark World dungeon, which I hate that place so much. But
yeah.
I mean that's what it's all for, because that's a dungeon where you can enter in different areas that you have to the Skullwoods in order to get everything you need to do to beat that dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
Which is annoying.
Yeah.
Definitely gives the game a sense of like, I mean, not depth, but like it really like makes it feel more open world than it actually is. You can go into this dungeon from like 3 separate places. I think there's like 4 or 5 entrances to Hyrule Castle throughout all of it, and it just makes that world feel way more open to me. Knowing I can kind of pick which way I want to go in. I'm not going to go right in the front door. I'm going to sneak into the caverns.
You sure? There's only the 2, I think, for Hyrule Castle.
You can walk in through the sanctuary in the back. You can go in the front.
Oh, okay.
I think there's a way to get to the 2nd floor balcony somehow. I can't quite remember. And then you can fall through a hole and land in this like the jail cell area.
Yeah. Okay.
So it really kind of gives you options. I don't know why you'd want to. Realistically, I don't know why your option to get into the castle would be to fall 2 stories into the jail cell. Just from a planning perspective.
So I'm assuming you hated the Skullwoods, and that's where the Wallmaster hangs out the first time you meet him. We were talking about that earlier.
It's really later when there's like 3 of them that just I can't stand it.
It's annoying. I still avoid, usually, except for this playthrough, I always avoid that 3rd dungeon to like the very end, because I don't use the fire rod at all except for 2 bosses. Mm-hmm. I don't care about the fire rod. I don't care about the ice rod. Those are always 2 pieces of equipment that just do not ever enter my inventory to be used on a regular basis. I mean, I know, the ice rod can be useful, but I just don't like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was perfect.
I'm so conservative with anything in games, and I hate to use anything that uses magic.
Oh, yeah. Did you guys all find the little bat that halves your magic?
Yeah.
No, see, that's what's like I like about this game, and I appreciate it, but at the same time, I'm like, after I beat it, I looked over like a guide just to see if I missed anything. Oh, I missed so much. Like, it is possible to go through the game without that, like, that cloak of invisibility, which is like, oh yeah, that's why all those like bullshit spiked balls, I could have like walked right through them. That explains why I wasn't doing anything wrong there. Like the thing that halves your magic consumption. You can miss the like a couple of sword upgrades, if I'm not mistaken. You don't have to temper it all the way.
Yeah.
A lot of that stuff is optional, and it's not communicated at all, I guess, unless you're like a maniac who's constantly going to the fortune teller and being like, what do you got for me right now? I need some guidance.
Yeah, that's definitely not a detriment to the game, because I mean, if you can get through a game without having to get everything, then that's pretty nice. I think in Metroid you have to get pretty much everything other than missiles and energy.
Yeah.
It's one of those things about Zelda. It's like such a staple of that series where they won't tell you half of what's in the game. You just kind of are expected to figure it out on your own. Like even like the Majora's Mask, I know so many people that didn't know about the Bighorn sword for the longest time. And it's like, oh yeah, it's so obvious when you think about it, because they're swordsmiths who tell you about the sword, but you don't know that there's like all this BS you have to go through to get it.
Yeah.
So like Breath of the Wild is definitely the most obscure with their knowledge, because that game gives you nothing. You just have to. They just want you to explore. It's like, it comes down to like if you like that or not, I guess.
It's. I think those games, for whatever reason, I just enjoyed exploring those worlds more than I enjoyed like trekking across the overworld in Link to the Past. I appreciate the hell out of everything that this laid the foundation with, but I just like the switching between the dark world and the light world is, I find it so tedious in the long run, you know. I really wish that the magic mirror would work one more time, so you didn't, you know what I mean? Like, you didn't have to return to the same spot to go back from one to the other. Like it, I just did not enjoy moving around and exploring. I think that's why I missed so much stuff.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of parts in here where like you would have to get use the magic mirror to get to like a little spot to get a little secret for a heart piece, and it's like, I don't really feel like doing any of that. I'm just gonna continue with the mission. I'm fine.
See, for me, it's all in my memory. So I was like, oh, I go here, I flip this rock out of the portals right here. And so, I mean, I know it's interesting to hear a different take on this game, because for me, I mean, there's too much nostalgia, too much rose-colored glasses. I can't look at it objectify correctly. I'm just like, oh, it's amazing. This is great. This is perfect.
Yeah. I don't have the luxury of dropping out of college again to like devote my life to that. So unfortunately, I can't do that the same way. And then, like, if you sit there with a guide on your lap, that takes all the fun of that. You know, I wish there was like a halfway spot. Like maybe if there was an owl that would swoop down periodically and give you some like kind of heads up on what to do, that'd be helpful.
So I made the owl mistake in this game instead of the owl, you talk to that one. When you talk to like Zelda for the first time in the sanctuary, I made the classic mistake of hitting no. Understand?
Yeah.
Which I haven't done in a Zelda game in like 10 years. And I hit no, and I was like, no. I legitimately, not even kidding, I hit no and I rewinded the game. I was like, I'm not dealing with that.
No. That's like every person that you rescue from the crystal gives you the same option, and it's like, I was so terrified I was going to hit down accidentally before saying yes, I understand.
I don't know why. I don't know why this game defaults to yes, I understand, whereas every other Zelda game defaults to no.
Yeah.
It's always like it's got to be just a joke by the developers at this point, where they're like, some idiot out there is going to be hitting A and skipping through all this dialogue that we worked so hard on.
Exactly.
Well, this is one of the first Zelda game. Well, this is the first Zelda game to have all this dialogue. So I guess they didn't feel the need to be mean to you. Like, oh, you want to pick? No, yeah, you want to read this again? Yeah. I mean, it was before all that happened.
They weren't mean spirited yet.
I want to say Link's Awakening. It goes on no, because Link's Awakening, the first Zelda game, introduces that Terror of the Owl.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm. That's how. That's how terms and conditions are set up in real life. You get to the end, you know, scroll all the way down. It's like, do you understand? It defaults to no. It goes all the way back to the top. No one would ever get anything done. Yeah, come out this week. So I am stuck in a terms and conditions loop.
You hear
it 3 times.
What was everybody's favorite dungeon in the Dark World? That I do want to ask.
Oh,
I'm curious.
None of them.
Oh, okay. I'll go first since I have one. I really like the Thieves' Town.
I was going to say Thieves' Town as well.
It's just such a cool dungeon. I love the fact that you go in there, you go and rescue this girl, and she's like, okay. And if you go all the way out, she just disappears. You're like, what the hell? But
that's the one thing I don't like about that dungeon. Like, it tells you, it's like, if you go out this way, the way it's worded is very strange. And I don't know if that was like a localization thing. Like, I don't know if in Japanese it was way more clear, but it's just like, I can't go out this way. And so the game literally expects you to walk through the entire dungeon to find another exit.
Yeah.
And the first time I played this game, I remember I got so lost because I didn't expect to have to go back to the one room that has only one entrance and one exit. It's like it doesn't make any sense. There's nothing cluing you into the fact that you need to do that.
Is that the one where you have to like bomb the ceiling?
Yeah.
And take it, like she goes into the light and transforms into the boss?
Yeah. I think like
that's the best one.
The way it's meant to work is you go into that dungeon, you bomb the ceiling because you go into that dungeon like right after you hear about Blind the Thief for the first time. And you're like, oh, well, this looks like a boss room, but there's nothing in here. And you go above it. You're like, okay, there's a floor that has light on it that I definitely need to bomb. Like, that's telegraphed very well. But just I regret, like, I still forget like 9 times out of 10 when I play this game that I need to go with her back to that room.
Yeah.
I would just wander around like looking for another door for an hour.
Yeah.
Oh, did you have a favorite dungeon, Jeff?
Yeah, it's that one for sure.
Okay, same one.
Yeah. I mean, I can lie and say the ice one because I like to slip and fall in holes, and I like that part where you have to like. I'm torn. I do like the globes that switch between the red and blue blocks. You know, I like that mechanic kind of, but that one has one of the most annoying sections based on that.
Oh yeah.
Where you have to push the blocks from both sides. Or you have to push the blocks from the left side so that you can like push that block that falls down on the switch below. And for some reason, it took me a while like to wrap my brain around what it wanted me to do. And
it gets complicated sometimes.
Plus, it had ice, which fucking sucks.
We're so used to ice. We live in Minnesota though. This is like home for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the point that all week long I've been like, oh man, I'm so cold. It is freezing here. It is freezing. It's like 30 degrees.
I mean, it's warm right now here, but it's just funny when I see people come around like, oh, it's so cold out here. I'm like, you live in Minnesota. What are you surprised for? I don't get that sometimes. People. Yeah, I don't know. I like making the joke. I can.
I think it was in the Overblood Super Replay. This has always stood out to me. Tim Turry said that it was like 40 degrees outside and it was a perfect day for a walk. And I was like, what the fuck? What does that mean?
Right.
Yeah, he's not wrong.
When he said that, my brain was like, it's 80 degrees here, and that's like casual weather. Yeah, as soon as it hits 60 degrees in Virginia Beach, everyone's wearing jackets.
Good grief.
I don't understand this weather.
40 degrees.
It's gonna be every year the temperature goes up late December. I swear to you, it's gonna be 80 degrees on Christmas.
Yeah, I think the only reason people wear jackets in Arizona is a fashion statement, honestly.
Yeah.
You live in the desert.
Yeah, nobody needs a jacket here at all.
I wish I need to move up north. I like wearing jackets, but I can't because it's so hot.
Come to Minnesota. You can wear a jacket for 6 months, 7 months of the year.
There you go.
I did. When I went to Minnesota, I brought 3 jackets that I never get to wear. And I was like, these have to get used somehow. My backpack was, or my suitcase was 50% jackets.
I do want to talk about the Ice Palace, though, because as much as the dungeon annoys me, sliding around, I remember when I first saw the Freezors, the guys that come out of the wall. I don't know.
Yeah.
It scared me the first time I played this game. It freaked me out, but now it just makes me smile as I hit them with the fire rod.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me happy every time I kill them. Like, aha, fuck you, do fire.
Yeah. Are they related to the guys who pop out of the sand?
Maybe. I think the Freezors are like ice ghosts or something, right? But they still have that weird. They don't look like any other enemy in any other Zelda game because they got like that weird ball-shaped head with the giant. They almost look like Octoroks on human bodies.
Yeah,
they're very strange.
I do. I'm looking at they're in Link Between Worlds also.
Okay,
of course.
So
they look a lot better.
I like that the re-deads in this game, like the Gibdos, just mummies.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, speaking of we were talking about earlier with help, did anybody ever use the gray stones in the wall with a little half a Triforce symbol or a part of a Triforce symbol on it?
Oh yeah, constantly.
Okay, I remember before I used to. Now I hate them because I don't want to read anything. But I
use them constantly, but some of them have like they kind of have some misinformation, or it's just so vague to the point of being completely unhelpful.
Yeah.
I still read every single one, but I'll read it and I'll be like, okay, that doesn't explain anything. It's like some of the early ones are like, pull this switch, and you're like, okay, yeah, I get that. And later it's like you'll go into a room and find one of those things. And it's like, oh, to solve this quest, you must hit not the first enemy, but the second, but not the second enemy because one's not an enemy. It's like, what does that mean?
That's why I don't read them.
Just tell me what to do. What is your purpose, and who put you here?
It's supposed to be, I think, the guy that gives you the Pegasus boots talking to you. If I remember correctly.
He's talking to you through the stones, which always makes me want to like go back to him in the game and just be like, "Yeah, what are you doing? Why are you being vague on purpose?"
Conditioning like vent, he's yelling into it like a vast network of ducks.
Every interaction.
It's a funny image.
Like,
he's just
hello.
The boss of the Ice Palace sucked because I did not have enough magic to melt his.
Oh,
and getting to him is such a pain in the ass. And I could have cried. It just was like I had to put the game away for a day because I'm like, I just don't have it in me right now.
I like how that's the equivalent of there's the jellyfish monster in this, and then the Ice Palace monster is just the jellyfish monster but frozen.
Yeah.
They're running out of things to do. They're like, what can we do? Use the same boss over again.
Let's put a brain in a cube.
Yep, exactly.
I like Cold Stare. I also brought extra magic, and I had the bat just because I knew what was coming. That's from playing this game too much.
I like him. I like his name because I like whenever Zelda enemies are named something very obvious, like they got lazy or they gave up.
Like
Aghanim and Moldurm, and then there's a guy. There's a mini boss just named Ball and Chain Trooper. It's just like he didn't even try. Couldn't even come up with a name. Just he's the sword guy.
I think Link's Awakening does that more because they have so many mini bosses in that game.
They do. Yep.
God, I need to play that game again.
You have like Trinex, the 3-headed Cerberus turtle monster that's made out of stone.
I was terrified of Turtle Rock going into this playthrough because I always remember having a terrible time with that. There's one puzzle you got to hit these 4 torches in one room to open a door very early on. I remember when I was younger, I couldn't figure out that puzzle. My friends couldn't figure out that puzzle. My friends were much older than me. I remember hanging out with a guy that was like 6-7 years older than me, and he couldn't figure out either. And I'm looking back, I'm like, I was so worried. I went doot 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 doot. Door open. I left. I'm like, wow, this is not hard at all anymore.
Yeah, that's the one with the tracks, right? Where you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Those tracks are.
It's just one of those things where you take something that you have in memory and you make it so much worse than it ever really is. Yeah. And it was just my memory of it was so bad. The actuality of it was like, this ain't too bad.
I felt like the similar thing. The clock tower section in the original Castlevania, I had built that up. Like I remember when I was a kid, it was so impossible. And then I went back to it a few years ago. I was like, oh, this isn't bad. You just constantly move forward because if you back up, then the Medusa heads get respawned because NES games are bullshit.
I had that experience with BioShock. First time. I think I was like 12 when BioShock came out or something.
Yeah.
Like that. And I actually returned it to GameStop because it was too scary.
Oh, right on.
I got to the part where you turn around and the dentist is right behind you, and I turned the game off, and I was like, "Nah, I'm done."
Yeah. Gotta know
And I
your
went back-
limitations, man.
I went back and I played it when I was like 18, and I was like, "Wow, I was a little bit. this is not that bad."
Yeah.
All right, BioShock is rated M. You shouldn't have been allowed to buy it, sir. I just wanted to make the joke.
Dun, dun, dun.
I mean, I never played any M-rated games when I was. I definitely wasn't playing GTA 3 when I was 11.
Mm.
Look at me, I'm fine. Fuck, shit, damn it.
I still, every time people bring up GTA 3, I still remember the random NPCs going, "My mother's my sister." For some reason, that has stuck with me forever.
I really want to put that game on the podcast, but it's so long.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would take a little while.
My favorite thing that I ever did in that game, I have to mention this now because we'll never talk about it in the podcast, sadly. My favorite thing in that game is just driving around with the opera station on. And it's so serene, just like, it was just going down the road, like blowing crap up and running over pedestrians while, like, the most sort of satisfying opera is playing. It's just like, this is the weirdest dichotomy here. Love this. Driving off of a bridge and, like, landing in the water while some singer is just belting out operatics.
Oh, we had mentioned a little bit earlier, we were talking about the boss that's like Cold Stare Vitreous, the giant eyeball with lots of little eyeballs.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
It's creepy as hell looking. Like, I don't, at least when I was playing through this playthrough, I'm like, this is a creepy looking boss. I just don't like giant eyeballs, I guess.
And he totally cribs Mr. A's lightning too.
Yeah. It didn't bother. I mean, it's still a cool fight. Like, I like the fight. It's creepy. I just like it. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I just stood there and took
Mhm.
every hit he gave me and just stood there, and just would hit him and just wouldn't move and hit him if they came out.
I think
It's
it's,
not the correct way to play it, but
it's,
Yeah.
'cause it's one of those boss fights where it's so obvious that it's like, it's just fun. It's so obvious that you have to hit the eyeballs.
oh,
Yeah, I know exactly what to
something.
do immediately. Okay.
one of the strategies I'm just reading that I never even knew this or ever did it. You said you can use the magic cape or the cane of Burna, which we haven't mentioned yet, to walk right next to him and just hit all the eyeballs and just be safe.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
that's how I did it.
I did not know that.
I didn't either. I
Yeah.
fought him a few times.
I was like, this is the easiest boss in the whole game. Jesus Christ.
God damn it. That's like
let
a
him
10-minute
shoot me and
boss
they-
fight. I can't believe I didn't know that. Oh, man.
See, now I can play the game again. I kind of want to play this again just because I just want to. I'm not going to.
It's kind of my go-to game on Switch whenever I'm like traveling. Like I have like Let's Go Eevee. I have 3 Houses. But whenever I'm like on a train or like on a like driving, like somebody else is driving and I'm just in the passenger seat, I should say. When I'm driving.
Just driving along, playing the Switch.
It's really hard because with the gyroscopic controls, it's just impossible. I have like Breath of the Wild, and still I'm like, I should boot up these old SNES games.
Now, have you played Link's Awakening?
Not yet. I'm thinking I'm picking that up for myself for Christmas. Actually,
Yeah. I will say that like after playing this, it has given me an even greater appreciation for Link's Awakening. I think that this is a great game, but I think Link's Awakening in so many ways is just better, in my opinion. I think that this is like, I think Link to the Past it's very ambitious, but it feels bloated in a lot of ways. And I think just because of the limitations of Link's Awakening being on the Game Boy originally, it really played to that system's strengths, which I think overall make it a leaner, more interesting, and more entertaining game overall.
Yeah, I was going to actually bring this up in my notes at the end, but I actually do think that the dungeons in Link's Awakening are a little bit more tighter than this one.
Yeah, and they all have like a gimmick that you can easily articulate, whereas like these are kind of like, it's like a swamp, you know what I mean? But there's not necessarily like a mechanic that is unique to it, like in the same way that Link's Awakening has.
Yeah, it's like when as soon as they give you an item, it's like, that's that whole dungeon right there.
Mhm.
It's just that item.
Yeah.
So you know what you're doing. Whereas in this one, it's like, use everything.
Exactly. And I think this certainly established the formula, but I think Link's Awakening just refined it. At least the way that I enjoyed playing games, I think that it is just a better game for me.
that's why I always call this.
You gotta
that's why I
add
always
that at
call
the
this
end.
the first Zelda game. Like the first Zelda game is. I mean, it's still like a good game. I'm not saying it's bad anyway, but I always say this is the first real Legend of Zelda game because this is when they were like, like developing that formula that was the groundwork for everything from here on out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, yeah, this is what I love about the podcast is we will play like one of the best games of all time and then spend an hour and a half explaining how bad it is. And then at the end we're like, oh, it's great, everyone should play it.
That's what we do here.
We talked about like GoldenEye for like 2 hours, and all of that was this game is total garbage now. It's just it's so bad, it's so bad. One of the best games of all time. You should absolutely play it.
I agree with you until that last part that you just added there. That is the quintessential like for the time game, but like it is like I would say if you did not play it when it came out, irredeemably awful to go back to. Like just but that's just my opinion. So.
It's not wrong. I mean, I still enjoy the game is tough. I mean, I enjoyed it when we went back to it, but no, it can stay in the past.
Yeah. Whereas this like still holds up. I think it's a great game. You should play this first and then play Link's Awakening, and you could kind of see how there's like it almost feels like a conversation between those two games in a lot of ways because there are things that are pulled directly from one, you know, from Link to the Past into Link's Awakening, and there's kind of things that are turned on their heads, concepts that were introduced in this game. Yeah, they're really great companions, I think.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
This is a must play, I feel like, if you like the series or in general. I mean, this.
Oh, absolutely.
This is still.
What it's.
I have rose-colored glasses, so my.
I always feel
I'm
bad
trying to
telling
keep
people
them.
like I know people that have never played Zeldas that got into Breath of the Wild as their first one, or even like people who played Twilight Princess as their first one, and they're like, oh, I should play the other ones. I'm like, that's a big undertaking because they're all very similar, but all also wildly different.
Yeah.
And kind of staple of the series is we're going to do these. All the stories are going to be the same, but the gameplay is going to be so completely left field out of nowhere, and it's not going to be what you expect it to be. Like I would never tell anybody. It's such a hard
series to recommend too because you want people to play Majora's Mask because that's one of the best. But to fully appreciate that, you have to play Ocarina of Time before, you know, because there's a lot of weird stuff that kind of correlates between those two. But like that's a big ask to say, oh yeah, play this first one as homework for the second one.
I always have the trouble telling people like, "Oh, what's your favorite?" I'm like, "Well, my favorite's Wind Waker. Don't play that one."
yeah, it's exactly the same way. Wind Waker is probably my favorite, but I don't know that it's like the best one.
Oh no, because that like that game is like 40 hours long, and the last 20 hours are just going island to island to try to get everything.
Yeah.
It's so much. There's like a whole dungeon. There's like the classic. It's got like a JRPG dungeon in it where there's like 99 floors that you have to go through each one. Yeah. Like, I would never tell anybody to play that game, but I love it and it's my favorite.
It's designed by maniacs who hate people. But I mean, at the same time, it's wonderful.
It's like Miyamoto's like emo phase.
Yeah. They're like, well, we gave you a kid with a big like booger bubble at the beginning. You knew that this was not. We did not like people. But
I'm still trying to find. I'm not even joking. I have bought 3 separate shirts with that lobster on it from the beginning.
Oh, really?
All 3 of them have been such bad quality. I'm still looking for a good quality version of that shirt. I'm gonna just have to make it myself.
Yeah.
I don't know why I haven't made it myself at this point, but all 3 I've bought have been like really cheap, like Halloween costume material. I'm like, why isn't this a shirt? I love this shirt. Just make it a thing. I just want to wear my lobster shirt, go down to the beach and eat lobster.
The frickin' beach. One dungeon we haven't mentioned yet is like the swamp palace when you first get the hook shot. That was one I felt was well put together. At least maybe I can't tell if it's just me, but I like hitting all the levers. I love playing games.
I think I always think that the hook shot is the best, like one of the best aspects of any Zelda game, which is strange because it shouldn't
be. Good in this game. It's really good in this game. Like I feel.
Realistically, any game, like we played Lost Planet, and I love that game because it's total garbage. I love it, and it's got that grappling hook that is just awful. Every game with a grappling hook is awful. I'd expect it to be awful in Zelda, but for some reason, it's one of the best aspects of any Zelda game.
Oh, Titanfall 2 has a great grappling hook.
Oh, yeah.
That game is really, really good, too.
Yeah.
If only
and
more
then
people
in Twilight Princess, you had like the 2 grappling hooks, which
yeah.
It was so
you're like Spider-Manning yourself around.
Yeah.
Spider-Man? I don't know how to say that.
Yeah.
Spider-Man yourself around.
Like the original, like the hook shot because it's got that kind of silly effect from this era that was used a lot, where it's like a bunch of little circles that kind of get stretched along. Like the ball and chain guys got the same effect, you know.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
So it's not like a Castlevania whip kind of thing. It's more just like a they're asking a lot of the player to fill in the dots.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are.
I love how every subsequent game has tried, as things get more detailed, they have to ask themselves the question of, what does this look like?
Yeah,
With, like,
what?
So, like, when you get like the hook shot in later games, they always try to figure out how to add like all the chains to it.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah,
not-
exactly. They're
It's
like,
not just a chain coming out of a hole.
I'm gonna work on the boomerang. You guys work on hook shot.
Yeah. Yeah, one guy's
Long
like,
time.
dibs on the master sword, dibs on the master sword. Damn it. Let's try to figure out what a like looks like.
Exactly.
Oh, did you guys get everyone get the level 3 Master Sword?
Yes, I always do.
I
Which
think
one
I
is-
did.
like, just to make sure I know, is that the one where you throw the sword into the fountain?
Yes.
Yeah.
The good old one.
You have to
Yes.
temper it and sword it. You have to temper it and then throw it in the fountain. Right?
I sorted the hell out of
Yeah.
it. Yes.
That moment.
Okay.
I don't know if that's in. It doesn't really happen in any other game besides Majora's Mask, right? Where you have that moment where you don't have your sword. Like you suddenly have
Yeah.
to figure out how to play the game in a completely
Yeah.
new way.
I guess the beginning of the first Zelda, you don't have a sword, right? Or do you
Yeah.
start off? Yeah.
And then because you have to get the whole beginning of the first Zelda is you getting the sword. The same with
Right.
Ocarina of Time. But even Ocarina of Time, you don't really fight anything.
Mm-hmm. And you have a stick that you can use.
Yeah. In
Place.
this game in Majora, it's like you're left without a weapon and you have to learn, like, okay, I guess I'm gonna be sticking with like the boomerang for a while, but that doesn't always kill enemies. That usually just like stuns them. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
am I gonna waste my arrows? Am I gonna use bombs like a maniac?
Mhm.
Because I don't know if you need the final sword to beat Ganon. That I'm not sure of.
Yeah,
I know
you
I always get it because I know where it is, but I
I don't think you need to upgrade the sword at all to beat Ganon. I think you just
Master Sword.
yeah, I think you can do it. That's the nice thing about
Oh, yeah, it's
this
probably
game.
speed runs of this. What am I talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really nice. that you can- all games need to have the model of, if you're going to add in a bunch of extra stuff, make it somehow affect the gameplay. I always think, like, I
Mhm.
enjoy completing. It's not even that I enjoy it. I'm just OCD, and if I have a game, I have to complete it fully.
Yeah.
I have to 100% it. So if it's a game like, I don't know, like this, or I guess even the new Tomb Raiders do it well, where you get notes, but the notes are usually well written, or like you get the little weird relic thing that you have to turn around like Resident Evil style and explore it. But Assassin's Creed is one that's just like, okay, there's 200 flags and they don't do anything.
The
But
worst.
you get an
Achievements.
achievement.
Yeah.
I don't care about achievements. I just like I just like being able to say I completely experienced a game. Everything a game
I
has to
went
offer.
I went
This
down
game
that
does
rabbit
it
hole
so
before.
well. Everything you get in this game directly makes you stronger.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
That
Oh,
needs
and-
to be the standard. Why we're getting away from that standard, I don't know. That needs to be the standard for everything.
And fun fact that I know only because of speedruns, the magic hammer is one of the most powerful weapons in this game, I want to say, or close to it.
I'm so glad you just said that because I was just thinking about unsung hero in this game is the magic hammer. Because like even I did not know that it was the most powerful weapon in the game or whatever. But
It's
like
either
I-
it is or it's close.
yeah, it is so satisfying to see those pegs and you get to they taunt you for so long and then you're finally like, I know that I could do something with you, and then you finally get the chance to do it. It's like the best feeling. And those
Little one
smug
that
little
the-
guys, the red-headed guys that
yeah.
Yeah.
pound them in the ground, it's very good.
I always like when I come across a room that has like a very wide peg shape in it. Because like I said, I'm a little OCD, so I like being able to do patterns in them. I never do a straight line. I always go like up to the right and then over and then up to the left.
Yeah. Now I could be wrong on this too, but this is like I don't remember this happening in the first Zelda or in Zelda 2 where there are like cracks in the walls that are just there to fake you out.
Oh, I don't think there were any up until this.
Because the first game doesn't even have cracks in the wall, right? Or am I remembering wrong?
I think it does have cracks in the walls.
Yeah,
Some
but
of the
they're
dungeons. Yeah.
I think they're always bombable. Well, I don't know. It's been a long time since I played the first one.
I've never
Yeah.
beat the first one.
It's
Sometimes they have cracks and sometimes they don't. It just depends on what dungeon you're in.
Yeah.
Okay.
I,
It's the the worst thing though, that to see like a wall that has cracks in it, and you're like, here we go, just doing my job, putting a bomb next to it because that's what I do in a Zelda game, and then it just like blows up, and then there's no song and no hole. It's like we have a deal, Legend of Zelda game, and you've broken this compact.
I felt real dumb playing this game after I beat it, and I watched the super replay of it again. And there's a part where Dan Rickard is playing this game, and he's like, "Oh yeah, you can just run into those walls with the Pegasus boots on, and they break." And I was like, "What?
I didn't know that.
I was wasting so many bombs." And Dan Rickard of all people is the one.
Good grief!
Flew me in from a super replay from like 10 years ago.
Oh man.
I was like, I cannot believe I in my head I was just like, well, that's got to be at least like 12 wasted bombs, even though I collected over the course of the game easily 500 bombs. Well, there's 12 I didn't need to use.
Especially if you max them out, which is what I did. I maxed them out from the ferry where you throw rupees in.
Oh, I love that mechanic.
Yeah. It's great, even though there's no way. Like, what's the starting arrow count? 30, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
30 and 10 or 15 for bombs.
30 and 15,
arrows.
Yeah. I never got below 20 arrows.
No.
But for some reason I need that number to be like up in the 80s just in case.
And I'm sure I could look this up later, but like what does it say when you throw the money in there and it doesn't give you an upgrade, but it's like you're gonna have a lucky day or bad luck or whatever.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
As far as I know, that does nothing. It's just
it's just to psych you out.
Yeah,
because they'll say you have bad luck, or it's called the pond of happiness, but I think it's just there to just screw with you. Maybe it has something to do with the rupee counts that dropped or something like that.
Okay,
pond of happiness.
I think it's just a fortune cookie thing where it's just like a random fortune.
Okay, but it's not affecting my like. It doesn't affect real life or anything.
Yeah, no.
Outside the game, you'll feel luckier, and therefore you'll have more confidence. And so.
Oh, good, because I left it on bad luck, so I don't need to press that.
So those pathological things that it affects you in life, but in the game it does nothing.
Okay.
It's
the pond of happiness is just there to screw with you. I like that.
Yeah.
In this game, unlike Stu, I don't usually feel the need to ever 100% anything because I hate it. But let's just achievement attached to it. I did used to do it for achievement, but I always miss one item in this game, Cane of Burna, and I know it's on the mountain somewhere, but I always skip it. It's the silver cane that lets you walk over spikes or not get hurt. I just don't care about it.
My whole 100% thing is really harmful to the fact that I do a podcast every week.
Yeah, yes, it is.
It's a real pain in the ass.
I think we should move on to the last dungeon of this game. I do want to talk about Ganon's Tower a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
We have to talk about that nightmare.
It's very intense.
This is the one part of the game where I was like, okay, I don't like this. I am not happy right now with this game, and it didn't happen until then.
A big prime example of how unfun this dungeon is you actually have to refight some of the bosses, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, just the boss rush.
And I think what's the night one? Armos Knight, yeah. I was like, all right, I beat him, and then there's all these chests. I'm like, I wonder what they're gonna give me. Oh, bombs. Yeah.
They're all joke chests. What was the first I guess that was a D&D thing. I was gonna ask what the first like mimic chest was in games, but I guess that comes from D&D.
Dark Souls. Dark Souls was the first one to do it.
Well, the
first one was Dark Souls, yeah. Do you mean Dark Cloud?
No, I'm just being a joke. But I don't know the first one. But and each boss fight, when you redo these bosses, I want to say Armos is on ice, which again, it's an easy fight, but then you add ice, like, oh great, now I get to slide away. You fight the stupid caterpillar with two holes inside the little area where you fight them in to make it extra annoying.
Mm-hmm. I screamed.
I don't think you're kidding either.
So many times.
Yeah, that fight is a real pain in the butt.
I had save state, so it didn't give me any trouble, and you guys had rewind. But that fight is because every time you fall and you go back up, he's healed.
Yeah, I did not have rewind or save state.
No, rewind. I can't imagine doing this dungeon without rewind.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes, so much of that dungeon is just oh god, every single room is just a million ways to knock you off.
Yeah.
Or kill you in some stupid way. It's designed so that you have like one heart going into the boss room.
You can also skip majority of that dungeon if you go a certain path. You can open certain doors. Like they give you extra keys. There are rooms that don't need to be open that will just take a key and like, oh, that's nice. Go, you got to do more now. Like that dungeon is set up just to screw with you.
Yeah.
I found out when I was reading about it.
It's weird because I keep saying it's a boss rush, but it's not because it's only I think 4 of the bosses that you fight throughout the game.
Yeah, Agaheim and the 3 that we mentioned.
Agonheim. None of any of us have said that name right.
It's okay.
I like how none of us have even talked about the like wizard that helps you. No one's even attempted his name.
Yeah, I can't do it.
Sarasala, I think is how you say it. I always call him Shalashaska. It's just his name is so dumb. Sarasala.
But yeah, you fight Metal Gear.
Yeah.
Shalashaska? Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, wait a second.
Name? Snake. What's your real name? John. You fight the knights, you fight the caterpillars, you fight the worm, and then you fight Agamemnon.
Agamemnon, I mean, that's where he splits into 3 this time.
Mike came up halfway through trying to say it. That's
it doesn't matter. It's not
like it's like the Evil Dead series, like Klaatu, Verata.
Anyway, I fought
that worked out real well. Got real well for him, didn't it? In Army of Darkness.
Yeah.
I always, every time I fight all those guys, I expect it to be every boss. And like, I know it's not, but I expect I'm going to have to fight every single boss again. So it's kind of odd. It's kind of a weird...
I'm thankful you don't. I'm thankful it wasn't a Mega Man game.
I am too. It just kind of, it's a weird, like I expect to fight everything and then I don't. And I've got this little weird feeling that I'm missing something or...
Yeah. Like the ones that they picked, it's like you couldn't put Eyeball Guy in there.
Yeah. At least they didn't put that damn turtle in there with the 3 heads.
Yeah.
I hate that. That's such a pain in the ass boss fight.
Yeah.
I like the moth fight. Mothula.
He's not hard. I think you just gotta bounce him into the spike wall. I want to say. Okay.
Plus, he's just such a. I say he's such a cool boss. He is just a moth. It's not really anything like monstrous about him aside from the fact that he's just a moth that's slightly bigger than other moths
and trying to kill you. I mean, that had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, I guess I don't really consider intent with insects. I just assume they're all mindlessly evil.
And something that at least somehow I never noticed, so I guess I just don't pay attention, is when you kill Agenheim or you beat him, Ganon flies out of him. And
he's like a little bat.
Yeah, for some reason I've played this game multiple times. I'm like, I guess I don't pay attention.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but what's like the story part of that? Like, is Ganon just flying back to like the temple where he originated at? Like, that's his thing?
Ganon took over Agenheim.
Yeah.
I want to say. Because he wins. I mean, he wins. Ganon won. He got to the Triforce. He's trying to connect 2 worlds, I want to say. Because right after you get the 3 pennies, you get the Master Sword, he's getting the last maiden, which is Zelda, to unlock and win, but then you stop him. I want to say what's going on.
Because it's kind of like the Super Mario Brothers movie where he wants to put the worlds together.
Yeah, right? For some reason.
What are you talking about? There's no Super Mario Brothers movie.
Oh, we are watching that movie, Mike. I love that movie. That movie is so weird, and I love it.
It'd be better if it didn't say Super Mario Brothers in front of it. Just said weird movie. It'd be a lot better movie.
That's what makes it great. Because there's that scene where there's the Babam walking down the highway, and people are like driving off the road, freaking out. I love that. It's like, Jesus Christ, it's a Babam! It's got the cute little face, and people are treating it like a nuclear warhead. I love that.
And for me, this is my first time ever seeing Ganon, because I never played Zelda 2. When I did play Zelda 1, I never saw Ganon. I never saw anything in Zelda 1 back at that time. So this was my always first. This is always, when I think of Ganon, this is my Ganon to me, is the big blue pig.
Yeah, I would say this fight is like almost identical to the one in the original game in a way, except for like now he's stomping and making part of the arena disappear.
Exactly, he's bigger.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like that. I'm torn. I wish Agenheim. I wish he got some story. But I also kind of glad he didn't. That's always my struggle with any Zelda game is I wish I knew more, but I'm kind of glad I don't.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want to know if he was like a guy that Ganon just came across and possessed.
There's a comic with him in it.
Is it really? See, I'm never gonna read it because it's just I want to have
Wouldn't
that.
it killed him to have like some audio logs that he left around on the level?
They're just the exact audio logs from BioShock. And I even
exactly.
Who's Andrew Ryan? I don't understand.
Starts talking about vocal cord parasites.
Well, I mean, when you said audio log, first thing popped in my head was Dead Space. I don't know. That's what I came like. You know, that's the first thing you should do when the world's going to hell. I think I should record something for people.
Dear diary.
What's your favorite audio log in a video game? Leave your comment in the section down below.
Like, he came back to life after I cut off his arm. I don't know what to do. He sprouted a claw out of his arm. Now he's coming after me. Like,
I kind of like that you don't know who he is. I kind of like that it's just a guy, like a random stranger.
Yeah.
That is Ganon or is possessed by Ganon or something. I think he shows up in... He's in Link's Awakening, isn't he?
A shadow of him, because Link's Awakening, spoiler alert, is a dream. So it's this Link dreaming. So he's fighting in Egaheim.
Well, this is Zelda. Dreams are canon.
Yep.
Everything is canon, and nothing matters, and nothing makes sense.
Like this podcast.
If something doesn't make sense, then it's just a different timeline, and everyone's okay with that.
Yeah. So Link's Awakening, like you said, is a dream. In Link to the Past, there are people that have like a Mario painting on their wall. That's a weird deal, right?
Yeah, that is confusing.
I never, because you can go in there and pull the painting in one of the houses, and you get rupees come out. And all the years I've done that, it wasn't until I was looking up screenshots for this game where someone said a Mario painting. I'm like, I never noticed that.
He wears a red hat and he's got a big M on his head.
Hey, we established I don't pay attention to certain things apparently.
There's
This is one of those games that I just play. Like I don't think, I don't read, I just play and go through on memory. Like when early on when I first met my wife, this is when the game I showed her this game and she didn't care about it, of course. She was into other games, not this thing. She was into like Aladdin. And I just remember sitting there playing on a PC and being like, "Oh, you do this and you do this." Like, okay, that's nice. But no, he stuck with me. I
kind of like the idea that because the brothers who run the Lone Ranch, those are supposed to be like Mario and Luigi as well.
Right.
I kind of like the idea that everybody in the Zelda universe just has a picture of those guys rather than Mario. Like everyone just loves, like, even though they're such assholes, and that whenever you come across them, they're always assholes in those games, and yet everybody loves them and has a portrait of them on their wall. We all love the Lone Ranch guys. I can't even think of their names. Like Arlen and
Mario and Luigi.
Well, even their names are like based off Mario and Luigi. I think like one's Marlin and the other's Lewin or something. Don't quote me on that.
If only we had the internet to look at.
I'm trying to find it on the wiki. It's surprisingly hard to Google things that you don't know the name of. Malin, Malin is the girl.
Yes.
Keep talking, I'll find it.
Okay. I think while he's looking up, we should go to questions, comments, and memories. That's what it is. Yeah.
Well, should we sum up what happens at the end of the game at least?
That is a good idea. That's a very good idea.
I'll figure it out.
We've only been doing this for 50 episodes. I'm a little rusty sometimes.
Maybe we could give the honors to Jeff to go ahead and get us out of here.
Yeah, you fight Ganon, and then he dies, and then it does like the classic Zelda. Like, here's what This is a weird one though, because it's not really showing what everyone is up to necessarily after you defeat them, kind of. But some people it does, some it doesn't. I don't know. It shows all the characters you've interacted with, and like a weird like little like their job title in some instances, and like other things is more like descriptive text. It's very strange. And then at the end, the Master Sword is put away forever.
Sure.
You don't need it anymore.
Yeah, it's done.
I do like how it shows the king. I mean, the king you never see throughout this entire game, and all of a sudden there's the king just standing there.
The king is like, I think only in Wind Waker is the king like an important character.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I will even spoil why the king is an important character.
He's also important in Breath of the Wild, kind of. He's in the beginning of Breath of the Wild.
He's not. He's just he just shows up every now and then as a ghost to tell you to bang his daughter. It's his only
I never
role
got very far in Breath of the Wild. That's one of my regrets. I bought that game for full price, played it for a couple hours, was terrible at it, and never touched it again.
I legitimately, I love Breath of the Wild so much. From a mechanical standpoint, it's one of the most impressive games, I think, of all time. Yeah, the king in that game is so creepy to me, where he's the ghost of the king showing up being like, hey, ain't Zelda cute? It's like, yeah, I get it, dude. Like, this is literally Destiny. You don't have to do this.
The ending is odd. Like, I liked it, but it's odd.
I've always wanted to play a Zelda game where I'm still trying to look up those damn names, by the way. I can't find them.
Okay.
I've always wanted to play a Zelda game that takes place after Link beats Ganon. I'm interested in knowing what happens like in the intro.
He comes back.
Well, yeah, he just comes back, but I don't know. I kind of would like a game where I want a game where Ganon wins, but that's definitely been done before.
Yeah, you're playing it right now. Link to the Past. He won in the end of Ocarina, because this takes place in the official timeline that wasn't created till way after this game, where he wins.
I don't know, some game where like I always thought it'd be cool for them to do some game. Well, see, again, I'm about to describe a game that is just Majora's Mask. Like some game where Ganon doesn't matter and it's just a side story and it's Majora's Mask. And it's like
Minish Cap.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious. Does anyone even care about the Hyrule Historia? Because I remember going to a con not too long ago, and I was walking in there, and like half the people in the room were asleep, and they were reading the whole Hyrule Historia. Like
What?
That was the greatest thing. Yeah, and people were just sleeping. What?
That's so weird. Why would you? That's literally reading an encyclopedia. That's what that's doing.
Basically,
it's reading a fake encyclopedia.
I'm trying to read the Similarian by R.R. Tolkien. I've tried that.
That is so bizarre.
So
like,
well.
I have a book for Halo that's like it's like describing all the like the Covenant forces and like all the weaponry and stuff. It's basically a breakdown of like in-game models and the art direction and everything. It's a really cool book. I would never sit down and read that to somebody and be like, well, of course everyone knows that the Covenant and the Elites, if they have red armor, they're slightly better. They wanted to do that because they want to distinguish between the classes.
All right. I think it's time for me to go on to questions.
I guess a podcast is essentially reading things you know about a game.
This one is yes. Some are no. All right. Actually surprised. I didn't get a lot of comments, but I did get a couple from a few different groups. I thought people would have a lot to say, and I have to pick and choose, but I don't have that this week. But hey, and this is from actually a Legend of Zelda group. I have from Casey Hurlbert, said one of my favorite games from my childhood. Thank you, sir. I agree. I just wanted to read it just because. From Kevin Pastorius, he said, I accidentally ended a friendship when I borrowed my buddy's cart and erased his file to make room for a new one. And not my proudest moment.
Oh,
look.
That's happened to me.
That's on him, but that's also kind of on his friend, I think. If you loan something out like that, you need to lay some ground rules down.
Don't you have like 3 slots though?
Yeah.
You should like call your friend and say, hey, I would like to save. Which one should I save over?
Yeah. This is back before phones
whatever
existed.
one he's playing at. Hey, this one looks to be the farthest ahead. Let's delete this one instead.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Like this is back before smartphones, Jeff. I don't know if you remember those times, but you had to walk into a separate room if you wanted to call somebody, and just hope that they were home, and it was awful.
Ugh.
And if they weren't home, then you didn't know where they were, and that was the end of it.
You just had to immediately start playing Zelda and delete the save game.
Yeah.
Friendships be damned.
I like the idea that he deleted all 3 of them to play over one. Hey, it's okay if I just format this disc, right? Like, need that. I'm not kidding. By the way, I am on just the wiki, looking at every character from Majora's Mask. I still cannot find out what these guys' names are. It's just I don't know. I can't find them. If anyone knows that's listening, they're going to be so annoyed. They're going to be like yelling it at their phone.
Or they might know us and just message us. I'll look it up later.
No, they'll just be silently angry.
All right, this one actually from the Overblood group, from Steve Luzider.
The Gorman Brothers, I found it. The Gorman Brothers.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know their first names. There's something Gorman and something else Gorman.
It was so worth the wait.
No, it wasn't. Not at all.
All right, first names aren't listed. What the hell?
All right. He says, I consider it the greatest game of all time. Do you find that its aspects, graphics, sound, gameplay still hold up well enough to be compared to the masterpieces of today? Or is it something from a bygone era that should be measured of its own ilk?
Yeah, I think take every generation as a whole generation by itself. That's the way I see it.
I would say it held up to games for a lot longer than most games do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I
but
still think it's great and amazing, one of the best games ever. But I got some beautiful rose-colored glasses on, so
Yeah, you're very biased, Mike.
I know I am. That's why I'm making sure to say it very many times in this episode. I didn't realize how biased I was, so we played through this game. I'm like, this game is great. I'm talking to you guys. You're like, it's great, but I'm like, what? So that's how I really I'm like, oh, it's just me. All right. Last thing I want to read from Ivan Williams said, I gave up my Game Gear and a couple games in trade for this and Final Fantasy III at a flea market upon first moving to Florida. Best trade I ever made at a gaming store. I agree, because I love Final Fantasy III also.
I never played
one
it.
of my favorite games.
That's one of my big blind spots. I never
It's going
played.
to change eventually on this show. We're doing it because I love that game.
Okay. Yeah.
Final
Like I said,
Fantasy
first one I played was 12. I hated it. Apparently, that was the wrong one to start with, as everyone proceeded to tell me later. And then at some point, I went back and played most of 7. And the only Final Fantasy game I've beaten is Final Fantasy 15. It's just not the one that I should have done.
It's like that advice you were giving earlier. Like, I really love this game, but never play it.
Yeah.
It'd be kind of
Final
like
Fantasy 2 is that way for sure.
Yeah.
It'd be kind of like if I
yeah.
told somebody now, if I was like, the only Star Wars movie I've seen is Last Jedi, it just instantly make everybody angry. That's the only one I really know.
All right, I think we should go on to Shelf or Box. And Stefan, since you have a wrong opinion about this game, why don't you go first?
Wrong or bad, Mike? You decide.
I know I started with bad, then I went to wrong because wrong was funnier.
I suspect I'll be able to predict Mike's opinion now.
Yeah, that one
What's
seems
your
pretty
Steph?
obvious.
Yeah.
I'll try to make it quick, but yeah, just to start, none of the dungeon music really stuck out to me.
Really?
That's
That's surprising.
It just kind of felt like some dude was creepily sitting in a corner playing a fiddle or something. Like, I just didn't really like any of them. I was like, they all sound the same. But
I like how we didn't mention the music at all.
yeah,
I mentioned it once. I listened to it. Was that
that's not to say there aren't good tunes. So there's some good tunes in this, just not all of them. Maybe I'm just spoiled by today's Zelda games though. So yeah, and Link's hair threw me off the whole game. I just kept looking at it like this doesn't belong here. It felt like I was playing as his cousin Billy or something. And the dungeons, I don't know, they weren't particularly memorable for me either.
Like, you're killing me, Stefan.
Like Jeff said, I prefer Link's Awakening's dungeons. They're just smaller and tighter, and like when you get a new item, it just seems to be that like that's the item for this dungeon. Get to it. So I don't know. That's just me. A lot of the bosses were super tame, especially the eyeball one. You could just run up to it and literally hack and slash at it. The real challenge, though, I felt like were the actual dungeons themselves, like fucking teleporters.
Oh yeah, we also didn't even mention the teleporters.
Yep.
No, we didn't.
Disappearing platforms that just disappear after a certain amount of time. The stupid hand that comes down and gets you. I forget its name.
We talked about that.
Yep. So these dungeons made me feel like I was drinking from a fire hose. And if I played this as a kid, I'm sure I'd be more tied to it. But as a grown adult, ain't nobody got time for any of that. So this game kind of felt like a chore to me. It was fun at times, but I'm going to put it in my box.
So, Stefan, now I need to play one of your favorite games and just bash it terribly now. That's
think
what I'm
You've
gonna
already
that all
done that
the
several
time.
times.
I know I have. Resident Evil.
Yes.
Okay.
1 and 2.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I felt like I had to try to defend it in some way, but
No, it's fine.
it just didn't stick with me.
It's okay if your opinion's wrong. Nothing wrong
Like
with
this is how we felt in Resident Evil 1 and 2, in Silent Hill.
I know. I know.
God,
I
this
can take
game
my own
sucks.
medicine right now.
Just have to
See,
sit
this
there
is
and be
why
like,
Chrono Trigger hasn't gone on the show yet. Because you guys talk bad about Chrono Trigger, I will be very heartbroken. I'll be crying on the show.
I never talk bad about games, really.
That's okay. I do.
I mean, I
I do
say
a
bad
lot.
things, but I'm always very forgiving.
Yeah, I've never played Chrono Trigger, so we'll see.
How about you, Jeff?
Oh boy, I like a lot of elements about this game, and I have such fond memories about it. But like revisiting it now, especially like because I played the remake of Link's Awakening fairly recently, and it just, man, if I have enough room on my shelf for both this and Link's Awakening, I think they are nice complements to one another. If I had to pick one or the other, I'm afraid that this one goes in a box and Link's Awakening goes in the shelf, which I understand is maybe not the rubric that you guys use. But I think overall, I still enjoy it. It's a really fun game, but I think that, man, you got to cut through a lot of the bullshit though, and there is plenty to go around. I think yeah. Overall, I really agree. Yeah, it's so tough. It's so tough because I hate the idea of being like, yeah, get a load of me and my crazy opinions on one of the most beloved games of all time. But like as I was playing it, I was trying to like be very conscious about like the feelings I was having and everything. And I was like, there were plenty of times where I'm like, this just feels more tedious than fun or interesting, and not the good kind of tedious either, which there is a brand of that I'm into. But yeah, it kind of floats between the shelf and the box, if that's a valid thing.
Yeah,
It works.
you can always say you're undecided if you need to.
We've done that a few times.
Yeah, several times. Sometimes we've said like a game is leaning off the shelf, or it's on the box, but it's on top of the box, so I can still see it every now and then.
Maybe I'll leave it on my shelf so that like, when people walk by, they'll be like, "Oh yeah, I like that game." And then I'll say it's one of the greats. And then if they start talking to me, then I'll be like, "Yeah, but those dungeons, they're not the best, and the overworld sucks to navigate, and it's not funny, but whatever."
You heard it here first, folks. It's gonna be the headline on Daily Wire or something tomorrow.
Oh no!
Game Informer writer hates Link to the Past.
I love it just so much. It's my favorite. Or whatever.
How about you, Stu?
I'm kind of with Jeff on this one. I really enjoy this game. Like I said, it's on my Switch, and it's kind of my go-to game whenever I'm traveling, and I don't want to start a bigger game. It's a nice little thing to play every now and then. And I can kind of jump into it whenever I want, even if I leave it like halfway done, I can jump back into it a month later and feel fine. I have trouble doing that with a lot of games, but this is kind of so self-explanatory that it's all right. I don't know. I really enjoy it. I love the music. I love Zelda, so I think I've got to put it on my shelf simply for nostalgia and the fact that it is a really important game, and I tend to really enjoy games that are like of historical importance. Like we played Penumbra. I was like, most people will not like this, but I appreciate that it's the skeleton of things to come. And so I like playing Link to the Past and seeing where all the ideas came from. It's kind of my favorite is, this is where they started doing like the skeletons and the Stavros. Yeah. I like that. I wouldn't really recommend it unless it's so hard. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody unless they were the kind of person to play a game multiple times, even if they weren't really sure about it. Because if you sit down and play it like 3 times, which is asking a lot, you'll start to pick up on all the like intricacies of it that make it great. I don't know if I'd recommend anyone go back and play it just to experience it though. So it's going on my shelf, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend it to anybody.
Oh, real quick addendum too.
Yes,
I agree with what you just said there. But like, if you cannot play it on the Switch and you can't rewind it, like there is not a person who has walked the earth evil enough to wish that upon them.
Yeah.
To, like play it without being able to rewind stuff, because like at this point I can't imagine beating it now without that capability. I don't know that I could do it anymore.
It's the only way to play it.
Yeah.
You guys are lucky.
Yeah. Yeah, you should have just bought a Switch, Stefan. you should have just done what I did.
Yeah. Or get all the items like you did. That would have been helpful as well.
It helps.
For being honest.
Just be more impulsive and buy a $300 console because people are kind of talking about a game on Facebook.
Speaking of impulsive, it is Christmas, guys. It is the season of giving.
Hey, I got you a mug. Does that count?
All right. It was a good mug.
I'm more of a thought counts kind of present giver.
Actually, I didn't even order the mug. My wife did, and I'm like, I'll send it to the guy. So yeah, that's how that happened.
I did. I was using my mug that I had to explain to somebody
why you have.
I have a mug with Mike on it. What is that? I'm like, it's my mug. It's from a podcast I do. It's a lot. I'd have to explain a lot.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna go last. I'm putting on the shelf definitely because
What?
unlike all these naysayers out here, this game is amazing to me. I still love it. I still feel that it's one of the best games ever made. One of my top games. It's not my top. It's in my top 10, if not like top 3. Still, but that's also a lot of nostalgic, and I know that, and I'm completely like, even though I'm saying all these big things, I'm completely aware of the little asterisk saying I have rose-colored glasses on.
Well, Mike,
me,
I'm a little bit shook, Mike. I'm surprised by this.
I'd also say
Yes,
we're
I
more
know.
like naysayers, not naysayers.
Tomato. But I still think anyone should go back and play this game because I still think it's great. I mean, again, with the rewind feature, play it with the rewind, enjoy it. Play it the right way games are meant to be played nowadays, where I don't play anything for a challenge. If I want a challenge, I'll go play Dark Souls or Bloodborne again, which I have beat, but I'm good. I don't like I like things just to kind of go through, enjoy a story, play through the game, be able to say, hey, I saw it, and now I understand it, and then move on to the next game. That's just my style, even before this podcast. But yeah, it's going on the shelf. Everyone should play it if you get the chance. Play it on your Switch. I think we said a lot about this game. So
This is the worst ever advertisement for this game. An hour and a half of explaining all the things wrong with it, and then 3 wildly different opinions. We can carve them like Nintendo next week. The hell.
okay, now. All right, and Stu, do you want to introduce what game we're playing next week?
Yes.
Which I'm not sure how I feel about yet.
Really, I am so excited. We are going back.
I got excited until I realized, wait a sec, that doesn't say Sons of Liberty. And I wasn't excited. I got really
it's
excited.
The original. We've had like a month of classics, and oh god,
Fear Effect does not include in the classics.
The Year Ender, also one of the best games of all time. That's gonna be a lot of us talking about how bad it is.
Yes,
Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake.
Mm-hmm.
From the MSX, right?
SMSXX. Yes.
SSXX. It's tricky.
I'm playing the PS2 version of on Subsistence.
I was sitting on that game for a while, and when an opening came up, I was like, "Ooh, I bet I can put Metal Gear 2 in there."
We were gonna do 1, which no one knows what 1. I still don't know what 1 is. It's some weird PS1 game that you were like, "Let's do this." I'm like, "Okay, what is this?"
I said Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake, and Mike immediately was like, "Metal Gear Solid."
I completely overlooked Solid Snake, and I went back and I'm talking about Sons of Liberty. I'm getting all excited. I'm like, wait a second. That doesn't say Sons of Liberty.
Well, we also need to play a Metal Gear game because the only one we've played is Ghost Babel, which is like the non-canon.
Kept you waiting, huh?
All
right, since I finally got. All right, before we start,
I love Metal Gear and I hate Metal Gear. It's gonna be such a hard episode.
Wait till we play Snake Eater someday. I love Snake Eater. All right, long. And since Jeff is our awesome guest, and first I want to thank Jeff for being on the show and joining us in this madness.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anytime.
Mm-hmm.
And for all those, I'll give a shout out for Jeff. Hey, all those, you can find him on read Game Informer, subscribe to Game Informer, and listen to the Game Informer podcast he's on sometimes.
I like that. I like that the way Cork came on the show is the same way essentially you got us to help you host it. You just asked on Facebook.
Yeah.
The same story.
I was so glad. I'm so glad we did this. Like, this was fun.
Yeah, thank you for coming on.
Super fun.
Mm-hmm.
I've been hurt on everyone's opinion about this game because they're all wrong, but it was still great.
You've smashed my expectations because I don't know what's gonna happen next time you ask a question on Facebook. You're like,
glory of Facebook.
You're like, oh, Cork's coming on. I'm like, what? Why?
Today at work, I was talking with the guy. He's like, I got a 4-hour drive. I'm like, you do? You listen to podcasts? And I just start slowly just bringing the conversation, and he subscribed to the show on Spotify, and it made me laugh. I remember, Stefan, you telling me about your friend that looked it up on Spotify and couldn't find us right away.
Yeah,
I was like,
see, I'm too judgy with people where I'll be talking to somebody and they'll say like, oh, I've got nothing to like do for the next hour and a half. And it's like setting me up to plug the podcast. But then I'm like, I don't really want this person watch the podcast. I don't really like this person.
everyone listening is a good thing. We need to grow.
Everyone should listen to this podcast. But some of you I don't like as people, and I just think you should understand that going.
All right, I want to give a shout out to our awesome intro and outro we've been using for 50 episodes now. Balby, aka Mike Stoney from his EP Bite the Bullet. The song is the Cool Kid Squad. So please, you'll see a link in the show notes. You also will see a link to the Game Informer podcast in here. Thanks to Jeff joining us this week. And again, I want to thank everyone for listening, and we will be back next week for you guys. See you, everybody.
Bye. Link's Awakening.